And we're live. What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday night to all of you. Let me change this background here real quick. Yeah, let's see. What do we want to do here? I like this background. It's like I call it a waiting screen. So just a blank screen. I just like the emergency broadcast system. It gives me warm and fuzzies. It reminds me of Dawn of the Dead. So, let's see. Let's go to the mall. Let's go to the mall tonight, Monroeville Mall. You guys hear me okay? Everything looking all right on you guys' end? Let me change the banner here. There we go. Little off tonight. But how's everybody doing out there? Getting closer. Hold on. Let's spit my gum out. Sorry. How unprofessional and rude. Just come on here chewing gum. But Halloween is right around the corner. Hope you guys are getting in the Halloween spirit. Getting in the Halloween mood. Um, I know we are. Went to the pumpkin patch today. Picked out some pumpkins. Going to be making some jack o' lanterns this week sometime. And yeah, looking forward to that. It's always one of the more fun parts of Halloween to me. Always is just making a jack o' lantern. I don't know why. Most people now, I mean, it doesn't even feel like they make them. Either they'll buy them pre-made or they just paint the pumpkins, which is a thing, I guess. But I don't know. I guess when I was a kid, it was always an excuse to play with knives, I guess, because I was that kind of kid. Um, but yeah, just gonna hang out tonight for a little bit. Talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Just throw any questions or topics in the chat, and we'll discuss it. We'll just hang out here for a little bit tonight. Gonna discuss upcoming shows coming up here in the next few weeks throughout the rest of October. Gonna have a Halloween show, Halloween night, probably later Halloween night for all you guys. So when you come back from trick or treating and you're opening your candy and just settling in and with a nice warm glass of apple cider, um, you can come hang out with me. 'Cause I'll be here. Then I got a pretty cool guest I've been really looking forward to talking to coming up next weekend on the 27th. I'll be celebrating my 36th birthday next weekend with Mr. John Vulo is going to come on the show and talk about all that he's had going on. He's been working. I know we've mentioned it before in some past streams, but he's been working diligently trying to uncover the names and identities of many of the ghouls and posse members from Night of the Living Dead here as of late. And he, after all these years, I mean, this man is discovering one after the other. So looking forward to talking to him about that, figuring out how he goes about like tracking these people down. I mean, of course, he had Miss Sharon Carroll found her, and she, attended the Living Dead weekend this past June for the first time, and that was really cool. Getting to meet her and talk to her and seeing her, excitement to just be a part of something like that, and she just had no idea ever. So it's going to be really cool to talk to him about that and a billion other things. I mean, one thing which we'll touch on a little bit here tonight, they named a street in the Bronx after George Romero. George A. Romero Way is now a street in the Bronx up in New York, and he was there for that the naming of that street. So I'm looking forward to talking to him about that and just shit and just getting his overall vibe and thoughts and his origin story and all that good stuff. So looking forward to seeing and talking to John Bulo next weekend, October 27th. Come celebrate my 36th birthday with me and John next weekend, and then of course, like I said, on Halloween night. Um, going to be doing a watch along of something pretty cool that I discovered. I didn't really discover it, I guess, but I mean, it's just recently been posted on YouTube. It's a Day of the Dead open mat, full frame version of the movie, which I've never seen before. But I was pretty stoked to find it. I shared it with a few of my friends and let them know. But I figured Halloween night is going to be a good night. Just kind of settle in, kick back, and watch some Day of the Dead. So we're going to do that. A Day of the Dead open mat watch along on Halloween night. And so that's going to be on a Thursday. So not next Thursday, but the following Thursday. Um, So yeah, we'll like I said, got that coming up, and then tonight, whatever you guys want to talk about, ask me anything, as they say here on the YouTubes. Um, whatever you guys want to talk about. Open topic tonight. I just want to come on here and hang out for a little bit. And of course, there's a lot of news to cover. We'll cover it. In the Romero universe, a lot of news going on. A lot of things coming out. The Weekend of the Dead's coming up over in the for our friends over in the UK. That's going to be the weekend after Halloween, the first weekend in November. So just kind of go through that, talk about that. And if any of you guys over in the UK, any of the viewers and um, or anybody watching over in the UK plans on going to there, or even people in the US, how are planning on making the trip over to attend Weekend of the Dead this year, let me know. I'm kind of looking forward. I don't know, some correspondence, some stories, just kind of letting me know because I've always wanted to go. I mean, it seems like it'd be a perfect excuse for me to fly across the pond, as they say, to visit visit the UK for the first time. Um, but yeah, it's just it has never happened. But I've always been curious to get. I kind of want like a first person point of view of the experience of the festival, and kind of how it maybe not compares to Living Dead Weekend, but how it just kind of seeing what they're doing over there, I guess. I don't want to be like make it a competition or anything. Be like, oh, the U.S. versus England. Let's do it again. No, it's just I'm just genuinely curious because it seems like they got some pretty cool stuff going on. They got some pretty cool guests coming this year, and honestly, back in when we were in Atlanta for Days of the Dead, talking to Galen and Scott about it. I mean, they actually made a point to bring it up and actually talk about how much they enjoy that show over. I guess it's going to be in Manchester, England. I think is where it's going to be. Um, but so yeah, that kind of piqued my interest about it. I kind of want to know what it's all about because Scott really was just like, oh yeah, it's great. I'm really looking forward to going back over there, And so anyway, we'll talk about that. Like I said, some other news in the Romero universe going on, and then of course, this has been something that's kind of been going around on social media, and I've seen it, and I haven't really looked at it too hard. I've seen where so Variety magazine has just released their top 100 best horror movies of all time list. Who came up with this list? I have no idea. It's a mishmash of random names that I'm not too familiar with. So I don't know how much validity we can really put into it, or how seriously we want to take it. But I just thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of look it over. I mean, it's Halloween season, we're in the Halloween spirit, and we can look through some of these horror titles and kind of see, what do we disagree with, what do we agree with. I can tell you already, there's one at the very bottom of the list that just like makes no fucking sense. So I'm already kind of skeptical about this list, but we'll take a look at it here at the end of the show and just kind of look it over and see what you guys' thoughts are on what their top 100 best horror movies of all time are. And it's Variety magazine, so I mean, who really knows at this point? But let's see who we got in the chat. We got Larry in the chat. What's up, man? Hey, bud. Good evening, everyone. The man himself, Mr. Matt Landrum. What's going on, Matt? Hola, he says. Alex, what's up, man? Sonic Owl's in the house. Hello again. Chief Sonic Owl here. So, what are we talking about tonight? I don't mean to now be a pessimist, but how long will this video be? Well, I mean, like I said, we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Any topics, questions, anything you guys want to chat about? Let's. I'm open. I'm open game tonight. Um, but like I said, we'll go as long as we want to go. As long as the conversation is going. Um, but we shall see. What's up, Robert? Robert Harvitz the second. Hello, everyone. Looking forward to this. Can't believe I can watch live, and I'm glad you were able to join us live tonight, my man. No work tonight, so that's always good. Bonnie Bailey, how you doing, Bonnie? Good to see you in the house tonight. Um, okay, well, as long as you can, man. Like I said, just hang out, and when everybody starts to fall asleep or go to bed or get tired of looking at my fucking face, we'll call it a night. But let's see, Alex saying, "Hey, Mike, my one question is, did you ever hear of the late Larry Vera and his wife Jeanette Vera doing Hawaiian luau themed celebrations in the tri-state area with the Gym, Hollywood, and Royal Hawaiians?" No, I have never heard that. I'm familiar with Larry Vera. He's for those of you unaware of Larry. He passed away a few years ago, but he's the biker in Dawn of the Dead, the one that gets shot in the shoulder, falls off the motorcycle into the crowd and starts shooting, and then they all surround him. He's the long-haired, good-looking guy. I mean, he was not the best actor, I would say, in that movie, which is, um, to me, he's always the guy that in every shot he's in, watch for it. Every time, next time you watch Dawn of the Dead, every shot that he is in, he looks at the camera at least once. It's just a small look or a glance, or there's always a moment where he's just supposed to be looking off here, but then he'll kind of, look back at the camera. So that's what he was always to me. But no, that's interesting. I've never heard that before, Sonic Al. So that's pretty damn cool. Here's a man, John Vulo, celebrating your birthday with me, you poor fool. Hey, that's what I want to do, man. I want to do me, and I was like, you know what? October 27th, Sunday night. We'll get John on, and like I said, I've been like me and John been chatting on Facebook Messenger for the past I don't know, a few days ago, just setting everything up, and um, I really am looking forward to talking to John. I find it really, really fascinating, and I really respect and appreciate the work and time and everything that he's putting into it. Because guys like John, I mean, this has been going on for years. I mean, going all the way back, to the Larrys, the Matt Blasies, the Christopher Rockuses, who was there for most of it. But I mean, this Romero fandom thing, that's to me like Romero fandom is what really interests me a lot. And meeting a lot of these guys that have done the research and to keep these movies alive and keep them going and keep them fresh and interesting and bringing in a new audience and new viewers. Because I mean, think about all that we have now, like Living Dead Weekend and all the the groups and stuff. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I can't think of too many other films or even filmmakers that have this type of following, to where you're constant there's just an urge to learn more. You want to know everything that there is to know about these movies. And and so yeah, I mean John's kind of like, to me, John's kind of like that the next generation of that. He's finding out all this stuff that has just been lost to time over all these years. So yeah, that's a nerd like me, that sounds like the perfect way to spend a birthday. So I'm looking forward to it, my man. Glad you were able to stop in. Um, Alexander Rivera dressed as a Hawaiian warrior in a grass skirt. Both learned how to twirl and eat fire. Oh, that's cool. I could actually picture that with him for some reason. He has that look that I think he could pull off. I think he could pull off um, the grass skirt. Not many of us can, but I think Larry could have. Um, Matt saying that Day of the Dead open mat was really cool to watch. Yeah, I've watched bits and pieces of it, but I'm gonna wait until Halloween to sit down and watch the whole thing, kind of take it all in, and I want to watch it with you guys. Um, but yeah, it's so weird. And you mentioned this, Matt, when because I sent you the link. I was like, dude, check this out. This is cool. I've never seen this before. And you're like, yeah, it just really like watching that stuff open. It's almost like opens up the movie and it changes the experience in some way. It's like watching the movie for the first time again. Like you're seeing all this stuff and all these things that you've never been able to see before. I mean, in movies like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, people like me have seen these movies so much over the years, and I've seen them so many times that just the fact that there's, I don't know, the framing is different. It feels different. It's just a weird. I don't know. I love that stuff though. Um, but it was funny. I was talking to Larry about the guy that actually um, not uploaded the guy that actually whoever uploaded it to YouTube is is not supposed to, and apparently that's what's kind of pissing the guy off, that actually has all this footage, all this film and stuff that he's kind of restored and and is putting out there. And I think he had it up for sale for a while, but people started, putting it on like torrent sites, YouTube, stuff like that, which, I guess we're, but I'm not going to promote it or anything, but I mean, it'll be available on Halloween for you guys to watch with me. I'll put the link down in there in a private link or whatever, however I have to do it. But, so yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot to that. But the guy that actually, I don't fucking know the word that I'm looking for that, but the guy that actually owns that open mat version has a ton of other stuff that he's made available on a website in the past, on like Blu-ray, I believe. But I think right now, I think he's kind of toning it down from what Larry was telling me because of people, pirating it and stuff like that. So, um, but hey, if it's out there, let's watch it. What the hell? Alex Santa, and also the late legendary Billy Heinzman, his wife Bonnie, and brother-in-law Nicky Mastandrea. That's right, Nick Mastandrea is the brother-in-law of who is he married to? I can't remember. Um, but he also joined them and did the Hawaiian Luau theme celebrations with them. That's cool. Um, that's interesting. I don't. You're another guy, Al, that just has all this information, all this knowledge, and it's pretty incredible. I always learn something new when you're on these streams, man. I appreciate it. Robert's saying, I keep adding new horror channels lately, but you were still my favorite because I love all things Romero. Well, I appreciate it, man. Um, yeah, there's so much out there. I mean, it just blows me away that any of you guys would just come hang out with me for a couple of hours once a week just to hear me fucking babble or talk to my friends and just talk about Romero for 2 or 3 hours at a time. Um, but my absolute favorite part is just meeting new people and being I mean, doing this channel has introduced me to so many new people that I wish I would have known years ago, but have just never really had the space or to bring everyone together to just kind of hang out and chat for a couple of hours. Um, so yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, man. I really means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Um, Larry saying, I once had dinner and spent an evening with Sonic Al and his mom. I recommend that everyone do the same. Yeah, where'd you go to dinner at, Larry? Where was the dinner? Um, Hopefully it was somewhere nice, and hopefully they paid. Did they? We'll see. What do you say about that, Al? Robert saying my kind of Romero fandom even includes Land, Diary, and Survival. Hey, me too, man. I mean, I love those movies as much as the original trilogy? No, I mean I can't. I'm not going to say that, but I do appreciate it on some level because it is George, and even if they're not perfect films, I still see George in those movies. There's still there's still that George essence, I guess, to those films. Um, and I know some people say, "Oh, you're just a Romero apologist or whatever." It's like, how can you defend Survival of the Dead? And I'm not gonna defend it and say that it's the greatest horror movie ever made or anything like that. But I still would say it's. I don't think it's if that movie was made by someone else other than George Romero, if it wasn't George Romero's Survival of the Dead, I think people would be like, it's not that bad for a modern zombie film. It's decent. But the fact that it's George and George's name is attached to it, I think just the expectations are just so high on those movies that it's just damn near impossible. Like when Land of the Dead came out, the expectations for that were so high from me and from I know most Romero fans that it was just never going to meet it. And whether you like or hate the movie, it is what it is. But I just think it's a time when you when your original trilogy is Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead, like doing another one 20 years later, it's just not going to be it's just not going to be the same. And but I do appreciate. I mean, yeah, the Canadian aspect of it. When I first saw it, I was just like, I wish it was still Pittsburgh. I wish he was still using, Savini and all the usual names. But I mean, shit, 20 years later, and it's a whole different thing. Um, yeah. Let's see. John said I downloaded that open day mat from Twitter last week. Didn't realize it was a new thing. His Dawn open mat is still the same one you saw, unfortunately. I mean, it was new to me. I mean, it's the first time I've seen an open mat, like full frame version of Day of the Dead. So hey, you know what they say? It's news. If it's new to you, it's news. Um, but like I said, I watched some bits and pieces of it. It is pretty cool. Like you can kind of see, I know specifically at the beginning of the film when Lori walks up to the wall with the calendar on it, and she puts her hands up, and before the hands come popping out, you can see at the bottom it looks like the knee maybe of somebody that was kneeling down behind the wall. You can kind of see it at the. It's you know it's something for people that have seen the movie 1,000 times, and you're just looking to watch it in a new way. Because I think as fans, when you love a film, you always try to find a way to watch it again for the first time because nothing will ever beat the first time, for anything. But when you see your favorite film for the first time, like it sticks with you forever, and you kind of want to relive that in some way. At least that's for me. Like I try to find new, interesting ways to watch these movies for the first time. or just get that experience. Still, guess what's up, man? Gonna be late to the party again. Got to take another test. No problem, man. Take you gotta do what you gotta do, man. I appreciate you stopping by as always. Um, but yeah, good luck. You know, priorities, my man. Um, I was a shitty student. I don't take advice from me about taking tests or anything because most of the time when I took a test in high school, it was just I'll just make an educated guess and hope to make at least a 65. That was my determination. 65 at least. Robert saying piracy kills independent horror. Yeah, that's true. Uh, I do see it kind of both ways. I mean, especially like looking at Night of the Living Dead, I've always kind of been because Night of the Living Dead. I mean, didn't suffer from piracy as much as just not having the copyright and just kind of being public domain or whatnot. But I've always thought like that I feel like that probably helped the movie become what it became because literally anybody could show it anywhere, any company could put it out, and it was just everywhere. And to me, Night of the Living Dead is probably one of the most famous horror movies in the world ever. Like even if people haven't seen it, they know the name Night of the Living Dead. Um, so there's that aspect, but yeah, definitely. I mean, for independent horror nowadays, especially. Um, but that's in the craziest thing is all those years without knowing that there was such a large fan base that still cared so passionately about George's work. Finding and meeting everyone has been the best. I agree, and like I said, I've always been a huge fan of George. I've always just wanted to study and learn as much about him as possible. And like before I was doing him like a YouTube channel or even YouTube channels were a thing, I was just obsessed. Like my dad's always said that. He's like, even ever since you were a kid, like if you got into something, like you had to know everything there was to know about it. You had to study it, you had to figure it out, you just had to dedicate yourself to that thing, whatever it was. I mean, if it was wrestling, like when I was a kid, like I was obsessed with wrestling. So like I know a lot about 90s wrestling mostly. I can name every WWF champion from Bob Backlund all the way to like the mid 2000s or something like that and tell you it's crazy. But like I've studied all this stuff for years. Um, so then when I was like, oh, I could do a YouTube channel maybe or a podcast, but like, yeah, everybody's kind of got a podcast. I guess I could do a YouTube channel and just kind of blather about this stuff for hours at a time. And um, yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. But yeah, it is really, really cool, and I think like, I always kinda knew that there were other people out there that were into this stuff, of course, but, you never really know until you kinda meet them and start talking to them, and you like I said, it's kinda like meeting someone that speaks your language for the first time, like, you've always felt like an alien or something, and you're just like, "Finally, someone who gets me." Um I definitely love that aspect. Larry said, I had dinner at his house. They cooked for me. Oh, that's nice. Have you acquired any new collectibles in the last few weeks, Romero or non Romero? No, not really. I've kind of been laying low on buying things. I'm trying to sell off some of my vinyl collection at this point. Um, just just because I have so many that I just don't listen to and that people will pay outrageous money for that I'm just like, all right, I'm kind of in. I can get rid of it. Like I love this album, like it's cool and all, but like if somebody's willing to pay me $300 for it, like have fun, like it's yours. Um, but no, I can't. Mm, I don't think so. I haven't really bought too much. Even like I said, even at Days of the Dead, I ended up just buying, outside of Scott and Galen's signatures, I ended up just buying some stuff for my daughter. That's really where a lot of my money's been going lately, is because she's been into, like I said, Child's Play and Gremlins and all that stuff. So anytime I see that stuff, it's like, oh, I can get that for her. Um, but no, unless I'm forgetting something. No, nothing, nothing. No, there's some stuff I've been looking at getting for sure, but nothing crazy, nothing major. Um, Robert says I can justify Survival of the Dead. George always loved westerns and wanted to make one. That's true. He finally got to make it, and that gives me good feelings. I agree with that. And I know George liked, George liked the zombie genre. I mean, obviously, that was kind of his thing, and he just, embraced it by the 2000s, I think, because he just became, the zombie guy, and he ended up embracing it. But George always wanted to do other types of movies. He's always talked about wanting to do westerns, or I mean, he's even mentioned like jungle movies, stuff like that. He's always wanted to make anything. He's always wanted to make different types of movies. But by the end there, I mean, they wouldn't give him money to make anything other than zombie movies. So why not make the type of movie that you want to make and do the type of things? Because I mean, you can get different shots and locations and stuff like that, and just put zombies in it, basically. And that's kind of what he did. Um, but yeah, I do agree with that. There's some beautiful cinematography in Survival of the Dead for sure. Um, that kind of had that western, that old, Technicolor western feel from back in the day. But yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, Robert said, I wish I could have met him, but never did. Yeah, I only met him that one time, 2008. And it was funny after I did that. After I met him in 2008, it was just kind of like, all right, well, I've kind of accomplished my goals in life. What now? So I never really went to too many conventions or anything after that. I never really, and like I said, I kind of started focusing more on music and stuff like that throughout my 20s. So I stopped really kind of going to conventions and you know going too crazy for this stuff. It wasn't until a few years back that I really just you know kind of got back into it. But looking back, like I really regret like never like meeting like I would have loved to have met George and talked to George on more than just that one occasion. Because that first time it was just like total fanboy. Like there's so much I would love to have, just random stuff. Like what who's your favorite band? I would love to know that. Um, I'd love to know who George listened to, like when he was driving, like he was going to the grocery store. Like, what are you putting on? Like, what was your favorite band? What's your favorite song? Um, because I don't think I've ever really heard him talk about that other than in terms of like cinema and stuff that he liked. Um, but yeah, just stuff like that, and never getting a chance to meet Dave Emge. That's a big one that I regret. Joe Pilato is another big one that I wish I would have. But again, that's why I continuously say to all of you guys that have never gone to a convention, and you don't got to go to the big conventions. Like I support your local independent conventions. I mean, the bigger ones are cool because they're bigger names and there's all the vendors and stuff. I'll say this: go to the bigger conventions for the vendors and maybe one celebrity if there's somebody you really, really want to meet, because they're going to charge you out the ass for a signature these days. Go for the vendors, go for the experience, go to be around other people and connect with other people. Um, but the smaller conventions, those are the ones that they're going to charge less, and you're going to have more of a personal experience with the guests because it's not going to be as crowded. It's not going to be, they're not going to be shuffling you through like cattle. Um, so something that's why Living Dead Weekend is so much fun, is because it's you can tell it's run by people who love this stuff as much as you do, and they want to make it as an immersive and enjoyable experience as possible. Um, well, like I said, we have this weekend was Scarefest in Lexington, which is maybe like an hour and a half away from here. And I've heard just a number of just horror stories, but just how crowded it was. I think Saturday was sold out for the first time in that convention's history. Um, and I've just heard about how crowded everything is and how expensive everything is. Like the cheapest autograph that you could get, I think it was like $60 or maybe 40 for like the real, smaller guests. But it's just crazy. Like I don't have the money, or like I would love to meet like a Clive Barker or somebody like that, but I'm not paying that. Like I can't do it. Um, so you know, but like I said, like Weekend of the Dead over in the UK, I'm sure that's a perfect time to meet these people, talk to them, because like I said, just let them know that you appreciate them and all that they've done, and just to have that moment, just that interaction with with somebody that created something or helped make something that had such an effect on you. It's totally worth it. It's totally worth the time and the money to do so. So don't miss out while you can, because these people will not always be here. And I know I say that a lot, but it's true, because like I said, there's plenty of opportunities that I missed out on that I wish I could have gone back and done um when they were happening. But anyway, I don't mean to get off on a tangent about that. Um, Johnson, I agree. I don't remember anything about survival being bad at all. Nothing sticks out to me. That's embarrassing. Yeah, I mean that's kind of there's definitely moments that stick out from survival to me, but it wasn't groundbreaking or anything when I saw it. I love that it was independently made, low budget, not a lot of CGI, not a lot of I mean there's some CGI in it. It's not very good CGI, and that's, you know, not great, um but it was just, small, low budget indie zombie film with George's sense of humor, full of George's sense of humor. Some of the casting I'm not a big fan of. Like, I'm just not a big fan of Alan Van Sprang or Bragg, or whatever his name is. But you know, it is what it is. Kenneth Walsh is really good in it, though. I do enjoy his, somewhat over the top comical performance in that. Robert saying the dead kids chained in the bed and survival is so good and creepy. Yeah, that was the opening of survival I thought was pretty good. When it opens on the island and they're kind of establishing the two warring families on that island. Some of that stuff's really good. Like I said, there's some good aspects to it, and then there's some not so good. But what the hell? Uh, Not everything can be a masterpiece. Larry said, "What are a couple of your favorite pieces of memorabilia that you own from Romero's films?" Um, hmm. It's a good question. I have a lot of that board game. The SPI board game is a big one because that was kind of the first big thing that I bought. Pricey thing, at least. It wasn't like an action figure or something like that. Um, so that's always meant something to me. I have a copy of the Dawn screenplay, um, which I'm not 100% sure what it is, but when I talked to the guy that sold it to me and asked him where he got it, he asked him where he got it from. He said that was it his uncle or something like that, used to work at a printing place, and he said that it was a master copy, whatever that means. I don't know if any of you guys know more about, screenplays than I do, but what a master copy of a screenplay is. It looks from the time. I mean, it looks pretty old. Like it could have been from the time that they had printed out all the screenplays for the production. I don't know. Um, but yeah, that's kind of cool. I do enjoy that. Um, Gosh, I don't even know. Of course, I got the original Dawn Green Letter poster signed by George and um, pretty much most everybody, um, other than David. I would love to get Argento on it, or Claudio Simonetti. Mainly the main players that help make Dawn. That um, what else do I have? I don't know. I'll have to come back to that. I gotta think on that because I got so much shit around here. I can't. Oh, the video store poster. That's always cool. But um, anyway, I'll have to come back to that, or I'm just gonna sit here and look. You're just gonna be watching me look around my room and trying to figure out what's in what, and like trying to remember what all I have. 'Cause I got a bunch of shit in like binders and folders and um totes and all kinds of shit. So, um, but yeah, that may be a future episode. That's not a bad idea. Um, Doing a collecting the dead of my own stuff. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Bonnie said, it never occurred to me to go to a convention. My husband got me tickets to Days of the Dead as a birthday present. First and only so far for me. Thankful to have met George and the Dawn of the Dead cast. That's awesome. Um, so you, if I remember correctly, you are based in Chicago. So I know they have some I know Days of the Dead does a Chicago show, if that's the one you're talking about. Um, there's another one here recently. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I highly recommend it. If it's not, like I said, don't go for the autographs. Don't go for the signatures. Go for, like, I try not to look at it like I'm paying you for an autograph. I'm paying you for your time to talk to you for a second. I'm paying you for an experience, pretty much. So, Look at it that way. Like I said, the vendors, that's always my favorite aspect. Just checking out all the vendors, and looking at all the cool stuff that they have for sale there, meeting other people that are at the convention because they're all there, for the same reasons you are. Um, so yeah, conventions are fun. I just never understood the people that'll go and spend hundreds and hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars, um, just to meet somebody and get a signature on something. Like there's I don't know, maybe like if Argento or somebody was doing one, I could maybe drop a couple $100 just to me, just because it's fucking Dario Argento or something like that. There's not really too many people still alive that I would pay that much money to meet personally. Maybe Rubenstein. Like if Richard Rubenstein did a convention, it was like, I'll do it for $500 a signature. Maybe just for the chance to just fucking talk to him for a second, just to be like, dude, what's up? Like, you're an interesting cat. Like, tell me something about yourself. Okay, Chicago. Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, I can't stress that enough. But um, so yeah, I guess we'll touch on some news topics here. We'll go ahead and get into some of this stuff here. Because like I said, with a lot of news in the Romero universe over the past couple of weeks. Um, just had so much going on with going to Atlanta and a lot of personal stuff going on here at home as well. So just a lot going on. So I kind of missed some of this stuff, but trying to take a stream and kind of catch up on some of it. See if I can do a screen share here on some of this stuff. But I guess um, the big bit of news that came out, I think earlier this week, um, was the announcement that October 31st, this upcoming October 31st, the Zolo World Night of the Living Dead action figures will be going up for pre-sale. Let me look here. So yeah, pre-orders. So this is according to Zolo World, their Instagram from a couple weeks ago. Actually, pre-order opens 10/31 Halloween for Zolo World's highly anticipated Night of the Living Dead 3.75 retro reverse interchangeable action figure series. The figures will come carded with artwork by Jared Stomber and feature a build-a-figure of George A. Romero. I'm curious about that. I don't know what the hell a build-a-figure is. I'm guessing. Let me see if I can do a little screen share here. So they just released this, which is the back of the card on the figures. This is what the back of the card is going to look like when you buy these figures. You got Johnny. You're gonna have a Johnny figure, which I think is the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first Johnny figure that has ever been released. If I'm not mistaken, there may be like some custom stuff out there, but I think this is going to be the first Johnny figure. Then there's a Barbara, Graveyard Ghoul, of course, Cemetery Zombie, which is funny they call it Graveyard Ghoul. I've always called it Cemetery Zombie, which is kind of the same thing. But um, then, of course, you got a Ben, the Karen Cooper figure down there carrying the trowel, um, and then the Hospital Gown Ghoul. This is the first for that one, for sure, that I can recall. I don't know if, like I said, there may be some custom ones out there, but this is the first, like I guess, officially licensed line of Night of the Living Dead figures from Zolo World, licensed by Image 10. Then, of course, down here at the bottom, they got the build a figure of George A. Romero. So I'm guessing that means is, and that this is the fucked up thing. I need that George Romero figure. Like that is, you don't see that ever. Like even the custom Romero figures that you'll see, like most of the time, they're like George, later George, ponytail and the big, Gotham glasses or Goliath glasses, I think is what they're called. They're mostly that figure. How many times have you guys ever seen a 1968 Night of the Living Dead George Romero figure? Like that's cool as shit to me. I need that. I'm gonna have to get that. But what I'm thinking is probably gonna be the case is you're gonna have to buy all of these figures, all 5 of these, and they'll each come with a piece of the Romero figure that you'll just put together. Which, if that's the case, I don't want to do that either because, like, usually when I buy Like, and I have a lot of figures, and that's what I'm like, I don't know. Like, I would love to have the Johnny because there's never been a Johnny. I'd love to have the hospital gown ghoul because 'cause I've never heard they've never had that, but I'm gonna have to get all these. I know eventually I'm gonna have to end up buying all these because that's just how I am. Um, but if it does come with, like, pieces of the Romero figure in the packaging, I don't wanna open the figures. Like, I keep the figures for the most part, outside. Like, I have some Land of the Dead figures here that I bought opened. But usually if I buy something packed, I'm not gonna open it. I don't wanna open it. Um, so I guess to put the Romero figure together, I don't know. Um, I hope that's not the case because that would suck. I just want the Romero figure, damn it. Let me finish reading the press release here because I know they got a something special here. So it says ordering a full set of Series 1 directly from ZoloWorld.com guarantees you a farmhouse diorama playset featuring artwork by Jen Biro. So that's kind of cool. A farmhouse diorama playset. Like, we're grown adults, guys. We're sitting here talking about, play sets and getting excited about play sets, but I don't care what the hell. But that's not all. Hidden in a few sets are randomly autographed Venus probe program figures signed by the actors from the iconic film. That's pretty fucking cool too. Stay tuned for your nearest rescue station and ZoloWorld.com for more news as it develops. Figures will be shipping mid 2025. So yeah, these go up for pre-order on Halloween 10/31. Um, I'm curious about a price point on these. Let me see if I can share. Uh, because I'll show you the front of the card, what the front of the cards look like too. But yeah, I'm curious of what the price point on these are going to be. I would think $20 a piece, maybe, which seems a little steep, but all right, let me pull that one down. So yeah, this is what I've been reading from, but this is going to be the front of the card here, which is pretty damn cool artwork, I would say. Um, yeah, pretty cool. I'm excited about it. Like I said, I'm curious about a price point. I would honestly, so there's what, 6 in total minus the Romero. So I'm thinking maybe $20 a piece, or you could buy them all together as a set for maybe 100, I think would make sense. Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. I just see, the thing with me is I already have so many action figures, and it's like, do you really want more figures? Like, yeah, I do, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you guys planning on picking these up, getting the pre-order on Halloween? Because I mean, they're pretty damn cool. Like I said, how often do you see a 60s Romero figure? I think it's pretty damn cool. Um, Thank you, Larry. Nice Rubenstein impression. Robert says on your recommendation, I got Bruiser, good, and Martin. I don't know. What is the next I should get in your opinion? Okay, that's interesting. You like Bruiser, you weren't too sure of Martin. I think I remember seeing you comment about Martin. You weren't too hot on Martin. Um, I would say so. You like Bruiser, you weren't big on Martin. Have you seen? Hmm, have you seen Season of the Witch? That's my recommendation. Season of the Witch. Either that one or one we'll talk about here in a second, actually, the amusement park. Have you seen the amusement park yet? Maybe check that out. It's about an hour long. It's more of an experimental, weird movie that George did that was just recently released. I don't know, a couple of years ago, I think it was now. Um, I would recommend that one. Just as something different. It's a different style of George, I would say. But yeah, Season of the Witch would be a good one to check out. Um, I would go with that one. I'd be curious to see what you think about Season of the Witch. Because I kind of, like I said, I kind of fit all three of those in the same category of Romero's work. Season of the Witch, Bruiser, Martin. They're all kind of connected in different ways. They're all kind of in the same vein, just in terms of the themes of the movies, I guess. Um, Larry saying, build a figure might be like this. Each figure will include a part of his figure. Buy everyone, and you have all the pieces, and you can build your own George. See, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what we'd end up having to do, Larry. You have to buy 2 of each. One set to open, one set to keep carded. Yeah. So yeah, basically, if you wanted to do that, you're gonna have to buy 2 of each. Which God, I don't know if I can do that. I hope that's not the case. But that makes sense. Like that's kind of what I figured it would be when I saw a build a figure, the term build a figure. So um Bonnie saying she might have to drop a hint for Christmas. Yeah, that's true. Christmas is right around the corner. Like I said, I'll be curious to see like if for some reason they're like $10 a piece, or you can buy a whole set for 50, like fuck it, I'll buy two. I'll buy 2 of each. Like that's fine. Um, but yeah, that would be a pretty damn cool Christmas gift. No to both. Which one first? Season of the Witch. Go Season of the Witch first. If you can find like the Arrow, find a good version of it because there's a lot of shitty ones out there. Do not watch the one that that I tried to watch a few weeks ago that was on YouTube from some other, I forget the channel name or where the hell it was from, but see if you can find that Arrow Blu-ray release, or I think it may be streaming on Amazon. Maybe you probably find it on Amazon for pretty cheap. Check out that because it's a really good transfer. It looks and sounds as good as it's ever looked, and it's probably the best way that you're going to watch it and kind of get a real feel for whether or not you like it or not. But it's not a horror film. So it's not. I mean, it has horror elements to it for sure, but it's more of a psychological drama, trippy, psychedelic. I don't know, man. It's out there. Well, I'll just say that. But George was always a fan of it, so if that tells you anything, um, there you go. Matt's saying it's on Tubi. Like most things, it's on Tubi. I found Ganja and Hess on Tubi the other night and started watching it. But the quality of it was pretty rough. And I saw that Kino Lorber's having a sale on their Blu-rays and 4Ks this month, and they have Ganja and Hess on Blu-ray for sale right now on the Kino website for like $10, I think. So I'm probably just gonna go ahead and just splattered water all over my nose. I'm probably just gonna pick up that Blu-ray and watch it that way. Because like I said, I was trying to watch it on Tubi the other night, and of course Tubi has the commercials, and that drives me insane. Like I'm trying to watch something, all of a sudden it's like, hey, fucking Tide, and it's like, oh yeah, okay. But and it's weird because you don't know when the commercials are coming in. They're not like strategically set. Like if you're watching it on TV or something like that, like they strategically put it in and like find a good spot to end, and then where on Tubi it's just like out of nowhere, it just pops up. But anyway, Larry says you will get 2 dioramas if you pre-order. Maybe pre-order 4 sets, 1 to keep carded, 1 to open, 2 sets to sell with the exclusive diorama. Make all your money back. See, Larry, that's why you're a smarter man than I am. That's why you're good at that. There's so much shit from over the years that I wish I would have just bought 2 of, just to sell and make the money back. So basically, I would be getting it for free. But at the time, I'm just like, nah, I just need 1. I don't want to do that. I'll leave some for other people. And then you look back and especially you go on eBay and you find some of the stuff that you bought, when it came out, and looking at what it's going for now because it's out of print or hard to find, and you're just like, fuck, I wish I had an extra one. John saying all the Arrow releases of Vanilla and Jack's Wife the Crazies are free on Tubi. So there you go. Robert says, I don't want to do streaming bullshit. I want physical media. Hell yeah. I will buy Season of the Witch from Arrow. Thank you for the recommendation. Absolutely, man. Go for it. And if you can find, I think you can find it on eBay now. If you want to get that whole box set, if you want to splurge for Vanilla Crazies and Season of the Witch, that box set's fantastic. Larry's all over it. Our buddy Larry, he's all over the special features on all 3 of those discs. A lot of location stuff, some a really cool documentary on vanilla where you get to hear John Russo and Russ Streiner and Gary Streiner and really get into There's Always Vanilla in that time period. Kind of, really they kind of get into it and talk about it for the first time that I can recall. So it's a really fantastic set. The Between Night and Dawn box set is what I'm talking about. But yeah, you can get the discs individually for pretty cheap, from what I think, if I remember correctly. And I think if I remember correctly, is Arrow having a sale right now? I can't remember, but typically you can find it for 15, 16, $17 for the Blu-ray online. Ed Trader Music and Entertainment, what's up, man? Good to see you in here. I got the email saying the unreleased Romero film Expostulations is finished. I was a Kickstarter, so I got special viewing soon. Oh, that's awesome, but they're looking for a distribution deal. Yeah, I remember talking to Chris Stavrakis about that at Living Dead Weekend back in June about, when that was going to be finished. And apparently it's got it's going to be have the narration from Terry Alexander over it. And I think I've seen a piece of it before. Um, like I said, I think I've seen it. But I think that's what uh, it was, the same project. I can't remember. I think it was the Garf in conjunction with the University of Pittsburgh did some exclusive live streams or whatever hell you want to call it, where they previewed some of the footage that they had restored from expostulations and stuff like that. I'm interested in checking it out. Like, you know me, anything Romero, like I'll check it. I'll fucking watch like The Man from the Meteor. I'll go to a movie theater and pay full price and buy popcorn and spend the $50 or whatever it is usually to go see a movie now to watch George's first movie that he ever made on a Super 8 camera, The Man from the Meteor. I don't care. I'll like that's where I'm at. Um, so yeah, that's really cool. If you get a chance to view it, um, let me come back on. Let me know how it is. Let me know what you thought of it. Definitely looking forward to seeing that when it comes out. But that's really cool. And as far as the distribution deal, I would think they'll find something to do with it. I'm sure. I mean, it's Romero. I mean, anything Romero is gonna there's gonna be a built-in audience for it. So, I mean, it's the same story with like the amusement park, like we were talking about a second ago. There's a built-in audience for it. Um, Even for something that was just lost to time and nobody really ever knew or talked about when it came out. I mean, that was a big day for me. John saying Night, that Arrow release is out of print. It's a 3 DVD set of those films, so you'd have to get the box set. It'll be at least 80. Um, yeah, I've seen them on eBay. I've seen them on eBay for about 80 to 100 when they pop up. I actually had 2 copies that I got, and I ended up selling one of them a few years back for, I think it was about 120, something like that. It was still sealed and all that. Um, but yeah, you should be able to find on eBay if you want to do that. But I'm trying to think where I've seen the individual Blu-rays for sale. They may be out of print, maybe. I haven't seen them in a while, but I remember seeing them on for sale on some of the Arrow sales on their website, the Arrow video sales. Johnson, can you get the Arrow release separately? Yeah, I think so. Unless, like you said, unless they're out of print or something like that. Which I know the box set is out of print for sure, but the individual releases, you can definitely still get. It just doesn't come with the actual box and the book that comes with it and everything, but it's still the same thing. So basically, you can get all 3 of those in the box set for $100, or you can just buy them individually without the actual box and the book and all that stuff. For you probably get all 3 for $50 maybe. Yep. Larry saying, yeah, very proud of my contributions to that set and in each film. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're all over it on all 3 discs, and it's really, really good stuff. Like I said, that's how I found the Skybus location for There's Always Vanilla, was watching seeing that for the first time when I first got that box set, and I was like, holy shit, that's still there. Like, I gotta find that one day. I gotta track that down. But yeah, I've always been curious, Larry, if you could answer this, when you contribute to something like that, do they pay you for that, or do they pay you in like free copies? Do they send you some copies of it? If they do, they just send one copy. Do they send multiple copies? I've always been curious about that. Um, because I think I remember hearing years ago. I think I remember hearing you on WGON radio, and they were asking you about that, and you said you still hadn't received a copy or anything. So did you ever receive any copies of that box set for all that you gave to it? Um, Rob saying I think it's cheaper to get them individually. Yeah, I think so. Matt's saying Season of the Witch Blu-ray is on Amazon for 25 right now. Okay, so it's kind of gone up. Or maybe I'm thinking, yeah, I'm probably thinking, because I know when Arrow does uh, their sales or whatnot, they usually do it like half off. So that makes sense. So 25 half off would be, so maybe if you want to wait around for when Arrow has another sale, just kind of keep an eye out for that because they usually do them a couple times a year where they mark everything down half off. And I know there's quite a few going on right now. Arrow may have a sale going on right now. I've noticed that like MVD's got a sale going on right now. Kino's got a sale going on right now. Blue Underground, I think. But yeah, it's out there. I definitely recommend checking out that version. I wouldn't get the VHS or anything like that because that was the first time. The first time I saw Season of the Witch was on the old Vista VHS, and that fucker's hard to watch because you can't hear anything, you can't see anything, and it's a mess. The Anchor Bay DVD though, I do have a special place in my heart for it, but that still looks pretty rough. Even for a DVD, but the Blu-ray, they did a fucking bang up job on all three of those movies. So yep, Terry Alexander. Um, going to be doing the overdubbing on expostulations. I have to practice saying that. John saying, "Oh, thought it was only the box set. Just got it 3 weeks ago. Yeah, you can get it individually. I think still, but I just think the actual box sets are out of print." They're saying very proud of his contribution to the films and their special features. They are all available individually and in the set. There you go. Come from the man himself. See Matt saying yeah. So I think we've all come to the agreement that they are available individually. So they're not out of print yet. Matt saying Larry, love your Skybus location video from Vanilla Special Features. Checking that out in person next year. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Matt. I'll show you where it's at. It's right next to a dog park. Like it's kind of in a weird location. Because you're like just in a park, and then there's a dog park, and then there's the sky, and there's so much still there. Like the turnstile is still there, the phone booth is still there. You can see it in the movie. A lot of the lights, and it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool spot in terms of like filming locations go. See Ed Trader Music and Entertainment Thursday, October 24th at 7 p.m. via Zoom is how us backers will get to see it. I'll definitely let you know how it went. I look forward to that, man. Because I'm genuinely curious of what all they got. I don't know if they have all the footage that they had for that, or if they've just been able to piece together some. I'm genuinely curious about that. So yeah, definitely let me know, man. Looking forward to that. Larry saying, thanks, Matt. I've been there a bunch of times over the years. It's a cool spot. I even have some souvenirs from it. That's one thing I didn't grab is any kind of souvenir or anything from it. Typically, I'll grab just like a piece of glass or a fucking bit of stone or something to take home just to say, oh, this is from, which is a whole funny thing. Like we talked about it last week, I think was, possible future, a future show of just getting a bunch of us on and just showing off our artifacts that we've gotten from the different locations. Just like, oh, this is a piece of wood from the, from the Monroeville airport. It's like, wow, which to like super nerds like us would be interesting, but can you imagine like some random person being like, oh, what is this? And they click on, it's just us showing like bits of rubble. And everybody's just like, that's so cool. And they're just like, what the fuck is this? Look at this. Look at this piece of stone that I gathered from the police dock location. I'm asking I bet we need to do a video about our souvenir. Yeah, there you go. Okay. We have acquired. I think that would be super interesting. If we get you, we get Paul. I know Larry's got a bunch of stuff. I mean, they were just giving a lot of that stuff away, like from the mall, like as they've, transformed the mall over the years, like bits of the escalator and pieces of the elevator and stuff like that. So it'd be curious to see who has what, because I know a lot of people have some pretty cool stuff that you wouldn't think anybody would have. Um, Robertson just bought Season of the Witch in the amusement park from Amazon. Awesome, kick ass. I hope you enjoy it. If you don't, I apologize. Don't hold it against me. I'm just giving you my personal opinions of the lesser seen Romero stuff. But yeah, it's definitely all worth checking out. Even if you're not a fan, even if you don't like it. I know me and Matt have gone back and forth about Bruiser uh, a lot lately, and but it's cool. It's just good to see and have an opinion on, just so you can discuss it. I'm always open to hear new opinions on Romero stuff from people that are seeing it for the first time, because I love living vicariously through you guys. Like, what did you think of this movie the first time you saw it? Because I'll tell you what I thought the first time that I saw it, and what I think now after seeing it a bunch of times. So I kind of, that's part of the fun of it. Love doing that. Larry says, I've never been paid for my contributions to any Blu-ray or DVD that I've worked on. I usually do get a free copy of the things I work on, but I've done it all for free because I love these movies. Very cool. And he also said, I did get 5 sets of Between Night and Dawn box set because I did so much work on it more than any other project. That's true. That's true. That's cool to know that you got 5 copies of that. That's pretty badass. But yeah, that's definitely like if for whatever reason somebody came to me one day and was like, "Hey, you want to do something, a feature for this movie that you love? Like, I'll pay you to do it." Like, yes, I would love to do that. Like, um, when you're a real fan of this stuff and you love it as much as we do, like you get to a point where it's like, I'll pay you to do it. Like, I want to do something for this. Like, it would be like a dream come true to do something like this. So I can't imagine how exciting that was for you to, especially on something as big as that stuff, something from Arrow Video, a box set like that. Um, Super, super fucking cool. Um, and Stukas is back. I hope your test went well. I hope you studied. Um, so I'm glad you're back, though. Glad you're back. Ed Trader says Arrow Video is having a Shocktober online sale. Certain items are 50% off. So there you go. Yeah, there's a lot of sales going on right now. Kino's got a bunch of shit right now that I'm wanting to buy. I got it all on my card. Ganja and Hess is one, but there's a bunch of other stuff in there. Kino is one of those companies that they do a great job with their releases, their transfers, and everything. They don't go overboard. They're not, they don't. It's like, here's a giant box set with all this, other shit in it for one movie, and it's artwork and all this stuff out the ass. Kino is a great company for if you want a quality release of a good movie, a movie that you want to own for a good price. Especially during their sales. Like I said, most of their stuff is like $10. Their 4Ks are 17, I think, something like that. John Villa says expostulation should be 100%. Okay, awesome. All it needed was narration and music. Leighton went to Levere, and in exchange for music, Leighton would do commercials for them. Very cool. Apparently, they screwed Leighton and no sound. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. Um, hmm. I always wondered what the case, because I've always heard expostulations mentioned in the past. That was something they'd worked on, never came to pass, never worked out. So, uh, yeah, looking forward to that. Like I said, I'm still waiting for a new, I guess, a new transfer of the Man from the Meteor or something like that. Larry said my souvenir game is strong. There you go. I can imagine, Larry. I can imagine. I tell you what, I'll mark that down on a calendar if you guys want to pick a date and come on. We'll just show off our junk. Just show off, like, here's a piece of rock from from the wampum mine. I don't know. It'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. I'm curious to see what everybody has, because there's no telling. John said, but once they found the original script for the narration, I think Richard Ritchie had it. That makes sense. They could complete it. Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to. I do hope to see that soon. I can't wait to hear what Ed Trader has to say about it. Larry says, I have the door scene in the crazies. You're fucking joking. In your garage, so much stuff. See, I've heard of people like the lighting fixtures at the mall. I've heard people that do own those. A lot of like I said, a lot of the stuff from J.C. Penney's, I know a lot of people own, but the door from the Crazies, that's pretty insane. From the house that they use as like the hospital or whatever, it's like down in Evans City. That's pretty fucking hilarious. Um, yeah, we're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to do that stream. Gonna have to do it. Robertson, I just want to own physical media, everything Romero, even if I hate it, I will still love it because it comes from him. Get me? Hell yeah, I get you. Trust me, that's why I own a lot of the Romero adjacent stuff, as they say, like Santa Claus on DVD, or although I do like the Booby Hatch, but it's like for sentimental reasons, or for whatever. Um, but just like some of like Flesh Eater, like who needs Flesh Eater on 4K? Like I do, I guess, you know. Um, but it's just because they're not movies that I like. They're not great, but it comes from the George tree. It's like the family tree. It forks off into different branches. You got your Tony Booba branch, and you got your John Russo branch, and your Bill Heinzman branch, and that's the way I look at it. It's like it all stemmed from Night of the Living Dead, really, and even beyond that. So yeah, totally get you, man. Missed a couple. That's good, man. As long as, like I said, 65. I guess that's still the passing grade. 65 now. 65. As long as you're above that, I'm proud of you. We're all proud of you, Stukas. Matt saying, Larry, we could probably build an entire house with all the shit we have. That'd be a good idea. The Romero house. It'd be like a reality TV show. Um, a problem with the souvenir show for me is that I can't show some of the best stuff that I have. It's hush hush stuff. Ooh, okay. Well, we're all friends here. Nobody's gonna say anything, right, guys? Nobody's gonna say anything. We're all friends here. A trader says I have a 1970s Iron City beer can. If that counts, hell yeah, that counts. I got a nice little Iron City beer can collection over there. I got the Gibbons beer can, which you can see at the end of Dawn of the Dead. Will bought that for me at Living Dead weekend back in June. But yeah, I mean, I love little stuff like that. If you haven't seen the Collecting the Dead episode that I did with Paul Farver, a lot of his stuff that is really cool, like screen. I guess the word that they use, prop alike, is I guess the word that I've heard, but it's like stuff from the movie, like that you'd have to really pick out, and it's stuff that if type of stuff. I love that that type of stuff, the Iron City stuff. I don't know, that stuff's fascinating to me because in Dawn of the Dead they used real shit. It was a real shopping mall, so there's real stuff in there that you can find. I still got to get my hands on one of those J.C. Penney solid state TVs. Larry almost hooked me up with one. I bought it, and the guy never. It was on eBay, and it was a guy that was selling it, never sold anything before. So I'm already kind of sketched out, but it was at a good price, and I needed to have it. I've always wanted one. There it was. So I bought it. Didn't hear anything. Never got a shipping notification. Never got anything. Finally messaged the guy, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, sorry about that. I'll get it out to you tomorrow." I'm like, okay, no problem, man. I just wanted to know. And then never heard from the fucking guy again. I don't know if I don't know what the deal was, but I got my refund, but I didn't get the TV. And I even messaged him. I was like, dude, I know it's been like 3 weeks. I'm not mad. Like, if you still want to send it, I'll still pay for it. But if not, just let me know something so I can figure it out. Never heard back from him again. He just fucking disappeared. So I don't know. I'm still looking for one, by God. Robert says, I will say, I think I might have been drunk, but I saw the Crazies and thought it was the most boring, stupid thing I ever saw. I probably should rewatch it again. The remake was awesome. Yeah, I would say watch it again. I like the Crazies. To me, is not boring or or. I think you have to go in with what your expectations of what it's going to be. It's not. It's kind of a precursor to what George would do with Dawn of the Dead. Kind of look at it that way. In terms of style, the editing, the pacing of it. But it's really just more of a study on, humanity, like how, I mean, and I think maybe if you watched it pre-COVID, maybe watch it post-COVID, because it kind of, there's a little bit more, um, I don't know, it gives it a little more weight to me. Because I remember when I watched it the first time after, like, it was probably during COVID, like in maybe a year in, and watching it and just being like, holy shit, like George had this, he knew, like he had this figured out years before any of us. Um, and you just kind of looked around, you were just like, wow, it all matches. Like it's so much, is so similar. Um, but But yeah, I mean, like I said, not every, it's not every, like I'm not the biggest fan of the Dark Half, Two Evil Eyes. I'm not a big fan of it all. I'm not a fan of it at all. Like I don't like that movie. But it's George, so I own like 10 copies of it. So, it's George and Dario, my two favorite filmmakers. But I'm just not a big fan of it. But I'm like you. I'm like physical media. If I love something, I got to own it, just because you never know, you know, you never know these days when something, they'll try to make something disappear. Like Disney may buy it for, who knows. And if Disney buys it, who knows what the hell they'll do to it. They'll probably cut it up, and who knows. So yeah, physical media all the way. Big believer in that. John says, the more I watch the crazies, the more I like it. The problem is a lot of the dialogue is cut so fast, it's hard to follow. That's true too. That's another big thing. Hard to follow, and you miss some important points if you're not focused on it. Yeah, that's definitely a big thing too. Is some of the dialogue, it is so fast paced, and the cutting is so fast that you can miss things pretty easily. But if you kind of, I don't know, I watch it with the subtitles. I'll say that. Like I do that a lot. Like when I watch a movie, I'll watch it without, and if I like it because of the tone, the vibe, etc., I'll watch it again with subtitles, and it kind of puts everything back into perspective. So I would say that, especially for something like the Crazies. Um, Stuka says, I saw a cool Siskel and Ebert review of Dawn the other day. Cool 5-minute watch. Yeah, I've watched that review so many times. Because during that time period, Siskel and Ebert were kind of known as being anti-horror. Siskel definitely way more than Ebert, but at the time that was kind of right before, the slasher craze, and they were a very anti-slasher horror movie in the 80s, especially. So it's just so cool going back and watching them talk about Dawn of the Dead with such a glowing review, and Roger Ebert loved Dawn of the Dead. I mean, there's stories where Roger Ebert, um, I think Rich Rubenstein told the story of Roger Ebert going to some film festival or something where all these critics would get together, and it was like this real hoity-toity, like highfalutin. It was a bunch of high. It was Roger Ebert and his highfalutin asshole friends, basically. And they'd bring their what movie that they saw that year that they thought was very important, and they wanted everybody to see, or something like along those lines. And all these people were bringing, like the high class, highbrow, you know, movies from that time period. And Roger Ebert brought Dawn of the Dead. I think Richard Rubenstein used the example that everybody else was watching Bread and Chocolate, and here's Roger Ebert with Dawn of the Dead. So I always thought that was a cool story. Um, Larry says, I have this super, super cool prop alike that I got last December that I still have not shown or posted about. Needs to be shown on a special video that I have not gotten around to making. What movie is it from? Can you give us a little hint? I'd be curious. A cool prop alike. Is it that I don't want to spoil it, but that the toy telephone that you can see in the project scenes in Dawn of the Dead? And I remember, I think it was it John or Edison Labs? Man, I can't remember who discovered that, found that, and was like, "Oh, look at that!" And then I remember Larry, you were like, "Hey, let me. I'm gonna have to get this." I'm like, "Okay." Um. Oh yeah, pretty cool. Bonnie saying she remembers. Yeah, because you're Chicago, right? So yeah, that would have been back when they were still. Were they national at that time in the late 70s, or were they still just kind of a local Chicago thing? I think they were still pretty local Chicago at that time, if I remember correctly. Um, Robert saying, remember I was drunk and I was like 15 years ago, so So, oh yeah, 15 years. Watch it again, man. There's so much like 15 years ago that I watch. Like if I watch it now, I'm like, oh, I missed this. I missed this. Like, oh, it's clicking with me. Like as we grow, as we mature, and we experience more of life, like your point of view changes on things. So yeah, definitely give it another watch, my man. Um, it's probably likes from Dawn. Okay. So I got the toy telephone too, but that was very recent. And yes, I've not posted about it yet. Okay. Okay. I look forward to that, Larry. I'm curious to see what you got now. I'm trying to think of what it could be from Dawn. Could be. That's the thing with Dawn of the Dead. I mean, it's in a shopping mall. So, I mean, you pause the movie at any time. You can pick out something in the background and be like, that was, I'm going to go track this fucking thing down. That's part of the fun of it. Um, we'll knock that out. So, okay, another big piece of news here that we can talk about, which we mentioned we talked about the amusement park for a second ago, but this dropped earlier this week, I believe. This little bit of news. Let me share the screen here while we talk about it. But this is something I'm looking forward to. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on the amusement park. Larry, John, Matt, what did you guys think of the amusement park? Because that's one of those movies that ever since I've started my channel, I haven't really talked about too much. Like I know I've talked about Lincoln Meisel's performance in it quite a bit at times because I thought I was blown away by his performance in that movie because I was so used to seeing him as Cuda and Martin that when you see him in the amusement park, it just took me by surprise. But outside of that, I've never really done too much on the amusement park or talked about it too much. But it's a movie that I really did enjoy the first time I saw it. A lot about it, especially when you know the context of how it was made, why it was made, and why it was lost for so many years. It makes it really cool. I mean, it's a movie that George was paid to make by the Lutheran Society as kind of a public service announcement about the effects of I don't know, the societal effects of getting old, I guess. I don't know. And the way George uses the amusement park as almost uh, a backdrop that represents life. I thought was really, really interesting. It's a very experimental film. There's definitely some horror elements to it. There's some aspects of it that maybe if you were younger, maybe younger viewers won't get because it's not a strict, straight ahead horror film. Um, I'm curious to see what you think, Robert, when you check it out. Um, but I know the older that you get, it definitely resonates. And I talked to Suze Romero about this because she was kind of the one that kind of got it released finally because it went to Shutter first and then eventually got a Blu-ray release. And I talked to her about it and I told her, I was like, Lincoln Meisel's performance at the end when he breaks down and starts crying, like that hurt, but like it just hits home when you realize when you start getting older, the effects of aging and how society treats the elderly. And George does a great job with it, but the fact that the Lutheran Society saw it and was just like, we're not even going to release this. Just throw this in a pile somewhere. Like, this is not what we were looking for. And George was like, all right, well, I got paid for it and it is what it is. And I've never heard George really talk about it before. Because I don't remember too many people really knowing that the damn thing existed. But I think Bonnie Heinzman was the one that owned a copy of it and was the one that was like, oh, hey, there's this, little film that I don't know if anybody would want to see, but here it is. This is something George did. Because this was like right after the Crazies is when the amusement park would have been right after the Crazies and right before George started doing the Winter series. So it's just an interesting look at the time period and George's style at that time. I mean, you get to see Lincoln Meisel in another role outside of Cuda. Um, I think Bill Heinzman has a cameo in it. George has a cameo in it. A young George has a pretty funny cameo in it, actually. Um, a very young Mike Gornick has a pretty cool cameo in it. So there's a lot that I really liked about the amusement park, and it's one that I've been wanting to kind of go back and rewatch again. But let me pull this up. This would be a damn good time to go back and revisit it or check it out for the first time, Robert. Um, you guys can see here, this is from Fangoria magazine. This has been in many different publications. I just went with Fangoria because it was the first one to pop up, but there's a lot of pop-ups on this fucking website. But John Carpenter presents George A. Romero's The Amusement Park graphic novel. Um, Storm King Comics and two horror icons come together to adapt the 1975 film to comic form. So this is pretty interesting to me. And of course, there's a nice shot of Lincoln Mizell, kind of wearing the same outfit that he wears in Martin. Funny enough, that Colonel Sanders white suit look. Um, yeah, Lincoln Mizell in the amusement park. So let me read the article here. Horror legend John Carpenter is giving a movie by the similarly legendary George A. Romero the graphic novel treatment. Okay, that's an interesting way to put that, but okay. With John Carpenter presents George A. Romero's The Amusement Park hitting shelves on May 7th, 2025. The graphic novel. I can't fucking read, guys. Hang on. Okay. The graphic novel adaptation of Romero's thought to be lost 1975 film The Amusement Park comes from Storm King Comics writer Jeff Whitehead and illustrator Ryan Carr. I know Ryan Carr's done quite a bit of artwork for the Garf, for different projects that they've had. Originally conceived as a public service announcement, the amusement park starring Lincoln Mizell was believed to be lost until restoration efforts were put in place, working on a 16 millimeter copy of the film found in 2017. Shudder acquired the streaming rights to the film in 2021, giving audiences a chance to see the film like never before. The graphic novel adapts the tale as follows. Okay, so this is what I'm really kind of looking forward to. What is this graphic novel going to be? Which I guess it's just going to be an illustration of the movie, which I'm pretty excited to see because the movie itself, like I said, is so psychedelic in ways, and it's otherworldly, nightmare like that. I think it will translate pretty well to a graphic novel. So it says, in John Carpenter presents George. I don't like the way that they say this. John Carpenter presents George A. Romero's The Amusement Park. Okay. An impatient businessman is late in his 20s meets an elderly man who spins a fantastic tale about a long gone amusement park. As the conversation continues, the younger man is disturbed to learn the story of an elderly man eager to recapture the memories of youth. Instead of pleasant memories, however, this trip to the amusement park becomes a surreal microcosm of aging and its inherent challenges as bodies and minds begin to break down. The old man finds himself abused, pushed into a horrifying series of attractions that mimic the later stages of life. Increasingly battered both mentally and physically, the man realizes he is trapped in a loop, forced to relive the harrowing experience over and over. And the young man, William Lincoln, I guess they named him William. His name's going to be William Lincoln in the graphic novel, because I don't think in the amusement park he has a name. I think he's just kind of an abstract character. Or a characterization of aging, I guess. I don't know. Soon discovers that he and the old man have much more in common than they suspect. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. I mean, there's some quotes here from Carpenter, I guess, or Sandy King, founder of Horror Specialists, expands on the history between the two. So yeah, I mean, just the article goes on, but here's a look at the. You guys can see that. I guess it's going to be the cover of the graphic novel. We've got the death figure behind Lincoln Mizell there. I mean, it looks pretty damn cool. I'm excited to check this out. I'll definitely be picking this up when it comes out and when it's available. What do you guys think? Is this something you guys are looking forward to? Have you seen the amusement park? What are your thoughts on the amusement park? Let me get that off screen here. But I thought that's pretty cool. I've heard that the rumors that they'd been working on a graphic novel for quite some time, and it's pretty cool that it's going out May 7th, 2025. So what do you guys think about the graphic novelization of John Carpenter presents George A. Romero's The Amusement Park graphic novelization? Let me knock it out of there. Maybe that'll help. All right, there we go. My screen was glitching a little bit. I hope I was coming in okay on you guys' end. Ed Trader says Rob Zombie said that The Crazies was his favorite Romero movie. Oh, I did not know that. But I could see that. I could definitely see that. And it's my favorite non dead Romero film. I have had the pleasure of showing it to first timers. Great memories. Yeah, I'm a big Crazies fan. Definitely a big Crazies fan. That's one of those that I loved it from the first time I saw it. Um, just because it had such a Dawn vibe to it, like the pacing, the editing, some of the characters in it are pretty interesting characters. I love the Richard France character in that movie and him going back and forth with Colonel Peckham. Some of that stuff is just entertaining, and it really and Richard France does a great job of painting the picture of like there's no way, there's no this is a unless we find a cure for this thing, like it's a lose lose proposition. It's like you either die or you go incurably mad. Those are your two options if you get this bug. Um, what is it? I think it was at the movies channel 11, maybe still local. Yeah, I think because yeah, they were local Chicago guys for sure. Um, okay, John saying I watched it again recently. I liked it. I was trying to get in touch with Walton Cook, and didn't realize he wrote it. Um, yeah, that's true. What do I'll have to look more into Walton Cook. I forget that he wrote that, but yeah, it was a kind of a collaboration between him and George. I don't know what else he did, or was he a part of the Lutheran Society or whatever? I don't know. But yeah, that's an interesting name that I would love to hear more from. Let me know if you find him. Um, Ed Trader saying after watching the amusement park the first time at home on Blu-ray, I stood up and clapped. Just fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I was thoroughly because I was so excited because I remember it came out on Shutter. And I got home from work that day and I was like, all right, leave me alone for the next hour or so. I'm gonna go watch I'm gonna go watch this new Romero film. And it's rough. It's definitely low budget. It's rough around the edges, for sure. But in terms of what George is saying in it, some of the visuals, some of the imagery that are used in the amusement park. Like I said, I think that's why it's going to make such I think it's a good fit for a graphic novel. I think that's a really interesting and really good idea. But yeah, I was a fan of that movie the first time I saw it for sure. And I can't stress enough seeing Lincoln Mizell break down and cry within that scene at the end with the little girl. Like that hurt the first time I saw it because I'm always because I grew up, used to Lincoln Mizell as Cuda, and just thinking like, oh, he's just like this rigid. When that's the only thing that you know a person of, like that's just kind of the idea you get, and then you see him in this completely other role where he's so vulnerable and so like the emotions that he has at the end of that movie is powerful, powerful stuff. And like I was saying, I was telling Suze about that. She was like, "Oh yeah, the part," because she mentioned the part that really, really gets her every time is there's a scene in the movie where a husband and a wife, an older husband and wife, the husband is really, really sick, and the wife is desperately trying to help him, but she can't because the doctors are too busy and nobody will help her, and she just has this hopeless feeling that she wants to help her husband. She wants to take care of him and heal him, cure him, but there's nothing she can do. Um, she mentioned that scene specifically, and it makes you think like she did. Sadly, that she did have to kind of go through that with George um, at the end there, and so it makes total sense that she would, that would kind of hit home for her, which kind of put that scene in a whole other light to me after she told me about that. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of the amusement park. Larry said, I saw the amusement park years before it came out, thanks to an important insider. Never liked it, still don't. Okay, that's interesting. It makes some point over and over and over and over. Yeah, I mean that's kind of I can see that. I'll take that bit of criticism. I can see that because it definitely is. It's not your typical um like narrative feature. Like there's not an act 1, an act 2, an act 3. It doesn't build to anything. It's really just like you said it's just kind of hitting home this one point over and over again. Um but I would just always like the way that George kind of did that, but that's just me. That's just me. Robert says the one thing I disagree with Romero about is that he's anti-religious. I'm a Christian, but I still love his work. Does that make me weird? No, of course not. You don't have to agree with. I think that's something in modern times that really gets on my nerves. Is when like a celebrity or something comes out and has a stance or they say something and then it's like if you don't agree with them, it's like, oh well, they're fucking Nazis now. Fuck them. And it's like people have their own life experiences, their own thoughts, their own beliefs. You can still appreciate them for what they do. If you appreciate their artwork, if you appreciate what they do, like there doesn't change that. Like I've never got that way of thinking. Like I've never seen an actor or something that I really liked and they come out and with some political statement or something like that. It doesn't affect the way that I watch their work. I don't agree with a lot of George's stuff. Uh, Politically, I guess. I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, there's a lot I do agree with, but there are certain aspects, certain ideas that George always kind of played with and incorporated into things that I don't agree with personally. But it doesn't change the fact that I think it's important that there are that it's out there, that these thoughts are out there, and it opens it up for discussion. And it makes you think about it because I don't need constant like what do they call it, like when people just watch and listen to things, it's constant reinforcement of your own beliefs and your own thoughts. Like I don't need that. Like I'm constantly open to being challenged on my own thoughts and beliefs, and a lot of the times I'll change them. it's like um it's like a perfect example to me. And I don't want to get too political or anything, and I'm not opening it up for debate or anything like that. But like the whole abortion debate to me, like I don't go either. Like whether you're pro-choice, pro-life, whatever. Like you make an argument to me, I'll probably agree with you. Like I agree with you, and I agree with you. Like we're all like there's no right or wrong to me on this. Like I'm pretty open to it, um but yeah, I just I that's an interesting question. I like that you brought that up because I do think that people struggle with that sometimes, and I don't think it was that George was as anti-religious. I mean, he did grow up Catholic. There were still some Catholic elements to it, to his work, um, but you know, you don't have to agree with him on everything. So I'm watching the Pittsburgh Steelers game as it's going on. They're killing the Jets right now, which you would think that I'd be a Steelers fan just as much as I love Pittsburgh, but I've never really cared for Pittsburgh sports too much, honestly. I was kind of hoping the Jets would kind of pull it together because I'm a Rodgers fan as a Packers fan. But anyway, I don't want to I don't want to tangent. Anyway, the Jets are getting their asses kicked right now by the Steelers. So hey, go Steelers. Stugas, did I ever watch the Battery? I still have not watched the Battery. I did see that they I think they just put the soundtrack on vinyl. Maybe they put that out recently. I remember seeing it recently. I know that for sure, but no, that's one I still haven't gotten around to watching yet. Um, Again, that's one that if I ever come across it, like I'm kind of like Robert in this aspect. Like if I come across it on physical media, like I will. It's an instant buy for me. Like if I can find it on physical media, I'll instantly buy it and I will watch it. But when it comes to like tracking shit down on streaming services, like I said earlier, when I was trying to watch Ganja and Hess on Tubi, I was just like, I'd just rather watch this on a Blu-ray or something. Like I don't know. Or I get stuck in that loop. Everybody's done this. I know everybody's done this, where you go to find something to watch on a streaming service and you just end up scrolling for an hour straight, and then you just give up, and you're just like, all right, because you always come across something. You're like, I kind of want to watch this, but if I scroll a little farther, maybe there's something better that I really want to watch. I get stuck in that. So I just avoid streaming services for the most part, but that's one that maybe I'll need to track down on physical media. If it even has a physical release, because I don't think I've ever seen that out. Um, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it. John says it was filmed after Jack's wife, but before the crazies. So it was before the crazy. So it's. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? I'll have to do some research on that. I know you know your shit, but I feel like I remember them saying it was after the Crazies. Um, but anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. Just nerds. We're gonna argue nerd style here. Um, Larry says there are several copies out there in existence. I know somebody that bought a print of the amusement park from Bill Heinzman. There was another print being screened in New York in 2018 or so. That was stop. Okay. Um, I forget the copy that they used. I think there was like a DVD or something that Bonnie gave to Susan the Garf, if I remember correctly. Um, Matt says I enjoyed it. I've only seen it twice, both times on Shutter. I have the Blu-ray, but I haven't cracked it open yet. I love Lincoln Myzelland. Yeah, that's probably my biggest thing that I took away from that movie that I loved the most was just him in it, seeing him and his performance, especially that final scene with the girl. Um, but yeah, I'd recommend checking out the Blu-ray. Some of the features on it are some pretty cool features. There's a commentary track with Michael Felsher and Mike Gornick on it. That's really interesting to listen to. There's some other interviews and some different features on there. So definitely check out some of those features because that was another Felsher project, and anything Romero related that Felsher has anything to do with, it's coming from somebody who loves the source material and and is going to put the work and the passion into it. Um, Larry says, I believe Suits, etc., had two prints, which they used to make the scan and version that was released. Yeah, okay, that's what I heard. They had an actual film print, if I remember correctly, and a digital, like a DVD version or something. Can't remember specifically. Like I said, it's been a while since I've really thought about the amusement park too much. Because I haven't really talked about it too much on the channel. Maybe that's one we'll do a little watch along or something with maybe one day. I don't know. So Matt's definitely picking up the graphic novel. Yeah, I think it's gonna be really, really cool. And it'll be just a cool collectible to have, like for a Romero fan for sure. Bonnie says I saw it on Shutter and enjoyed it. I'm interested in the graphic novel. Okay, there you go. Ed Trader says if you like the amusement park, check out Jackie Gleason in Nothing in Common, where he too is faced with diminished health, diminished mental and physical health. Sorry, guys. Never heard of it. Um, Nothing in Common. Jackie Gleason. I'll try to remember that. Stuka said I've never even heard of the amusement park. Well, if you have Shutter, it's still available on Shutter. I came across it the other day as I was scrolling through, like I was saying earlier, just scrolling through for an hour. Um, it's still on Shutter. There is a Blu-ray release as well that's out there, and you can get the Blu-ray for pretty cheap if you can find it on Amazon or something like that. But um, yeah, I'd recommend checking it out. Like I said, it's always good to check these things out. I want to watch Ganja and Hess. I've heard from some people that love it or not love it, but some people that like it and some people that just don't like it or hate it. Yeah, I don't know. I remember Larry saying last week that he hated Ganja and Hess, if I remember that correctly. I can't remember if it was Larry or John, but just check it out for your own. Build your own opinions. Especially for Romero stuff. You got to do it. You got to do it, Stukas. Johnson Walton Cook was like the VP of sales for Leighton by 1971. Okay. He's in The Crazies, wrote, and is in the amusement park, and he produced the latter episodes of The Winners. No emails I had worked. Okay. That's interesting. So that's a name I'm not too familiar with. I didn't know that he was the VP of sales for Leighton Image in 1971. That's interesting. See, I can't wait to talk to you, John. I'm excited to find out more stuff that I don't know. Cognitive bias. There you go. There's a good term for it. Streaming kills physical media. Yeah, I don't know. I think physical media is just going to be kind of like one of those things like vinyl. I think people that really love cinema, love film, are still going to buy physical media. They'll still spend money to own these movies. I mean, because I love the fact that if I'm just in the mood to watch something, I have it. I can just put it in and watch it. I don't have to track down or buy or rent it, quote unquote, for $4 on Amazon and then have 48 hours to watch it before they take it away. And it's just like, fuck that. Matt saying one of my favorite things about it is that the Lutheran Church didn't like, not necessarily because I'm not religious, but because George is always the underdog that wanted to make shit his way. That's true. I completely agree about that. I just think it's funny as shit that there's the Lutheran Church. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna get the guy that made Night of the Living Dead to make our public service announcement video." Oh, awesome! And then they watch it. It's like, what the fuck were you expecting? It's the guy that made Night of the Living Dead. It's. I guess they just thought like, oh, we can local Pittsburgh guy, we can get him for cheap, and he'll give us something good. And then George was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna do my own fucking thing with this. Let's do it. Let's make this fucking weird. John said, I'm pretty sure. I believe Gornick replaced Gerald Schultz on the sound after Jack's wife. I have to look through my emails and notes. You guys remember Gornick? I'm pretty sure the first thing Gornick worked on with George and the crew was the Crazies. And he's in the amusement park. So I figured it was after. But I feel like I remember them saying in what it was 74 is when they filmed the amusement park. I could be wrong though. Let me know. Matt saying yes, John's right between Jack's and the Crazy. Okay, so I stand corrected. It's 2 against 1. I'll gladly. There you go. Do your victory lap, John. There you go. And Crazies was filmed March to June 72. Okay. I stand corrected. Stuka said, I'm still looking for a DVD of The Quiet Earth. Hard to find a decent copy. Yeah, that is true. That's one that I really like. The Quiet Earth. It's a British sci-fi horror-esque type of movie from the 80s. If you guys haven't seen it, you can definitely tell it's heavily inspired. Like it was a heavy inspiration on Danny Boyle and 28 Days Later. Like to the point where the opening of The Quiet Earth is basically ripped off in 28 Days Later, almost shot for shot. When you see it, you'll know. But yeah, that's a good one that I never see out and about anywhere. I never really hear anybody talk about it either. But I remember seeing it. I don't know, about 5 years ago, maybe it was on one of those streaming services, and it sounded like something interesting and pretty damn good movie. But yeah, that's definitely one that I'd love to find a copy of at some point or get some kind of new release of for sure. Robert says, I hope you're right about physical media. Yeah, I think so. I think there'll always be. I may be wrong, but I just feel like there's always going to be a niche group of people that are into this type of stuff, like vinyl and stuff like that. Like, there's going to be people that want to own this stuff and collect it, and there's money to be made in selling it still. You just got to, know your audience. I think that's my biggest thing is a lot of these, like the bigger studios and stuff, when they try to do like a new release of something, I feel like they're just kind of out of touch with their audience. But Ed Trader says, I too love just watching the physical media. However, the Shawshank Redemption is a TV remote stopper. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's always those. Some of those, anytime they're on, you gotta stop and watch. Larry says, speaking of early Romero, I've seen all the Winners docs, and I have a bunch of his Mr. Rogers segments, including how they make light bulbs and the tonsillectomy episode. Very cool. I've seen the tonsillectomy episode. I don't know if I've seen how they make light bulbs yet. I'm not sure. I still got to catch up on all the Winners docs. I'm kind of I might try to do a stream or something on those at some point once I've seen them all. They're kind of, tracking them down is kind of hard to find. I just watched the Bruno San Martino one that they did. I found it on YouTube. I think Larry sent me the link to it, actually. But yeah, they're just kind of hard to find. I actually ended up getting the Bogus Witch Project DVD just so I could see the OJ Simpson, just so I could get that OJ Simpson documentary. But I know that they're owned by the Heinzman family. And they actually reached out to me at one point and offered, if I'd be interested in licensing them for maybe a screening or something in the future. Which, I'd love to do something like that in the future, but at this point I don't have the knowledge or capacity to do something like that. But they have all of them, so it'd be interesting. And Robert says the Nightmare on Elm Street 4K just came out and looks really good. Yeah, I would love to have that, but I feel like they're gonna have they're gonna release a box set of that soon, so I'm kind of waiting to see what they do with that. Because if they release a box set of it, like I'll definitely that's one that I would like to own all of. Um, and I'm honestly not a big fan of the artwork that they chose for that 4K either. Um, I would much prefer just like the original poster art. But yeah, I definitely look forward to check that out at some point. Like I said, I hope that there's a box set or something coming. 'Cause I've heard they're working on a Freddy's Dead. I think that got leaked here recently by someone that they're working on a Freddy's Dead 4K. Like, look, if they're doing Freddy's Dead, they're sure as shit going to do the rest of the movie. So I don't see why they would just do Freddy's Dead in 4K and not the other ones. John says I only have 8 of the 14. I think the Willie Stargell one was actually filmed in 1971, which didn't make sense. I had to talk to Russ about that. That's interesting. Um, okay. All right. So, a couple of other bits of news topics here to kind of touch on. I did notice Claudio Simonetti's Goblin is going back on tour um, over the next few months. They're coming close to me. They will be in Nashville, Tennessee, November the 30th. I bought my tickets today. So I will be finally, after all these years, seeing Goblin live. They're doing it's like the anthology tour, which basically I guess they're gonna play all the hits. All their Suspiria, Profondo Rosso, Dawn of the Dead, Tenebrae, over the years, all of Goblin's big horror soundtrack stuff. So that's gonna be super freaking cool. They added a bunch. There's a bunch of tour dates on here. They should be coming close to you because I know Matt. I know Matt messaged me the other day, so he got his tickets. They're gonna be playing in Atlanta. I think a couple of nights before actually that they're playing in Nashville. Um, but I'll just go ahead and share this screen here so you guys can kind of see the tour dates they got coming up here. They're playing Halloween night at the Oriental Theater in Milwaukee. That would be pretty damn cool. The Demon soundtrack all the way through live. I hear when they do that, they'll play the entire soundtrack all the way through and then go through and play an hour of hits. So that would be pretty damn cool to see. But yeah, everything all through November. Look at all these dates in November. 3rd, 5th, 6th. They're going to be in Denver, Colorado, Eugene, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle. So basically all through the Northwest, down the West Coast. And then over here later in November, that's when they start hitting my area. St. Louis at the Red Flag in November 23rd. Atlanta, Georgia on the 24th. Buddy Matt will be there. Orlando at the Abbey on the 26th. Right here, baby. November 30th, 3rd and Lindsay, Nashville, Tennessee. Can't wait. And they're going to be in Louisville on the 2nd. Headliners. I've seen a show at Headliners Music Hall before. But anyway, a lot of new dates here. You can check it out. You can get your tickets at tonedeaftouring.com/goblin, or you can check out goblinsimonetti.com for all the tour dates and ticket information. For any of you guys out there wanting to check out Goblin live, because it should be, they do a pretty awesome show. For those of you that have seen it, they basically play the music from the soundtracks while scenes and clips of the movie are playing behind them. It's a pretty it looks like it's going to be a pretty damn cool show. So definitely check that out if you guys are interested. Like I was saying earlier about going to conventions, meeting these people while you still can, while you still have the opportunity. Like Claudio's not getting any younger, and Goblin. I mean, there was a while there where it was just like it didn't seem like Goblin was ever going to play the States, but they've been touring a lot here lately, been playing a lot here lately, so definitely check them out while you can. And I guess the other two big things here, I just want to kind of look over the Weekend of the Dead lineup here real quick for all you guys over in the UK. This is your chance to go to a Romero convention over in Manchester, England. It's the first weekend in November. And like I said, I'm definitely looking for some like correspondence or something for any of you guys over in the UK. If you guys want to go, I don't know if you want to maybe just shoot like what they call like a when you a walk around or whatever the fuck when people are just kind of showing what the convention looks like, where the vendors and just kind of giving it an idea. Like Synth, oh my God, Synth Addict. I haven't seen him in the chat tonight. I don't know. I know I think he's busy. He's been going around documenting stuff all day at some kind of convention going on. I stopped in, listened for about 25, 30 minutes, and he was just Synth is amazing. Like the dude, I can't put him over enough. That dude knows so much about everything. And he'll just go up to anybody, start talking about coffee. Like he was just having this deep conversation about coffee with these people on this video for 15, 20 minutes. And he just knows so much. He's such a wealth of knowledge. But what Synth does, he goes around, like he'll go to just take his I guess he just uses his iPhone, and he'll just live stream and just kind of, so you're basically there with him. So yeah, if any of you guys over in the UK want to do that, I'm definitely interested in checking that out. Or if you just want to come on, shoot me an email, and let me know if you want to come on the channel. You guys, anybody in this chat right now, anybody ever interested in coming on the channel and hanging out and talking, you're always more than welcome. Shoot me an email, shoot me a comment. That's part of the fun of this. I love talking to new people, getting to know you guys better, and just sharing this nerd love, that you rarely get to share with other people. But let me pull up the Weekend of the Dead website here and kind of look at what they got in store. Here's the 2023 SWAT team, I guess, photo op that they had go on here. There's a little Scott Kellaway down there, and that's John Rice. That's pretty damn cool if they got him back in costume. It was cool meeting John, at Living Dead weekend, but it's pretty cool they got him here to do a pretty killer photo op. Let me see, okay, here we go. Go down a little farther. But yeah, it just piqued my interest again, because after hearing Scott talk about it in Atlanta, he made a point to bring it up about how much he enjoyed attending this convention, and how excited he was to be going back. I know they've released some panel scheduling, and here we go. Here's the Weekend of the Dead schedule for all you guys going. A lot of cool stuff here. Let's see, you got a panel with Ralph Langer and Bill Lasco. Get some photo shoots here. Night of Living Dead Legends panel with John Russo, Russ Streiner, Gary Streiner. That's going to be pretty damn cool to hear. Graham Humphreys experience. I don't know what the hell that is, but I think he's the guy that did the official artwork for the show. The name sounds familiar. I don't know what the Graham Humphreys experience is, but it'll be happening at 12:20 that day. But yeah, all kinds of stuff. There we go. You can see the lineup a little better there for that. Some guest announcement. Gary Streiner, Russ Streiner, Ralph Langer will be there. Let's see if I can find the actual full list here of the guests.
I am with the legendary.
No one's going to be looking at you. He said they're going to be looking at me, so I'll do all the talking. He's probably going to ask me how I love this convention. Well, I do love this convention, and I told him I'm going
to. I guess here. How do I turn this off? You can definitely tell Daz did not design this website. Okay. Shut up. Sorry, Tom. Trying to think straight here. All right. It's got Gary Streiner, first guest appearance of Gary Streiner. Russ Streiner is going to be there. Ralph Langer is going to be there. Richard France is going to be there. That's pretty damn cool. They're getting him all the way over there. Of course, Scott Reiniger will be there. Molly McCloskey, Melissa Dunlap, John Russo will be there. Jeannie Jeffries, which there's actually, I think I just saw, I can't remember what it was, but it was like a short documentary or something going on about Jeannie Jeffries. I'd love to check that out. I'd have to track it down wherever I'd be able to find it. I think it was playing at like a film festival somewhere, if I remember correctly. I just remember seeing it on Facebook not too long ago. But Jeannie will be there. First appearance for Bill Lasco. Now, Bill Lasco, that's a guy that we talked to quite a while back in June at Living Dead Weekend. He's a super, super cool fucking guy. Very funny. All you guys over in the UK, it's his first appearance. I highly recommend stopping by and talking to Bill. Super fun guy. He's always in costume, always got the head wrap. But yeah, highly recommend stopping and talking to Bill while you're there. Randy Kovitz is going to be there. Anybody got any cigarettes? So there you go. I mean, it's pretty badass lineup for Romero convention over in the UK. Like I said, man, it's going to be, where's the dates here? Inside the Manchester Hotel, November 2nd and 3rd. So all you guys over there in the UK, anywhere over in the European part of the world, highly recommend checking this out. And if you guys want to kind of give me some correspondence, let me know what your experience was like. I'm definitely all ears. Definitely curious to hear about it. Check that. Let me hit these comments real quick. John says I only have, okay, I got that one earlier. Some of the lawyers that were thanked in the winners are also in Martin. I think they play the guys in the bathroom. I remember hearing that. I vaguely remember hearing something about that, actually. That's pretty funny. Are they in the bathroom, or were they the cops? Who are the cops in Martin? The ones that are chasing Martin through the department store and end up getting in the shootout with the gang members. I can't remember who those cops are, but I remember somebody saying that they were like they weren't actors. I know that, but I can't remember if they were lawyers or something. But anyway. Robert says, my first passion into horror was Nightmare on Elm Street. Only later did I think Romero of The Dead was the best ever. Yeah, and I mean, growing up, yeah, I mean, Freddy, Jason, like those were that was our shit when we were kids. Yeah, loved Freddy, loved Jason, Michael Myers. Like the Halloween series, I liked more the older I got, I guess, because I of all the major '80s slasher killers or whatnot. Michael Myers and the Halloween series are definitely my favorite, but when I was a kid, it was all about Jason and Freddy. Which now that I'm older, I'm not the biggest fan of those movies. Like I've always talked about Friday 5. Like I've always liked Friday 13th Part 5. The original Nightmare on Elm Street is still just one of the best horror movies ever made. Period. But I've come around on Part 2. I like pieces of Part 2 quite a bit. 3 was always one that I loved when I was a kid. New Nightmare is one that I want to like way more than I do. I think it's a great idea, but I just don't think that the execution was quite there. But anyway, I don't know. I would love to. I will say the only movie I've ever walked out of in a theater was the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Holy shit. Like I couldn't. I was so like, I wasn't even like offended or just like that it was a bad movie. It was just boring, uninspired. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that movie to people. But yeah, that's the one movie that I've ever just walked out of in a theater. Just like I've seen enough. I'm done. Like I'm not wasting any more time on this. Yeah, Synth was live streaming earlier for quite a few hours. I can't remember what the name of the convention or what he was at, but it was a little bit of everything. It was pretty, and that's when it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, Jesus Christ, Synth knows so much about everything that he was just going up to one person after another and was just having like these full-blown conversations with them, just knowledgeable conversations with these people. Ed Trader says, I overlooked this in the expostulations email. Suzanne will be joined by Russ and Gary Striner, who will discuss shooting the film and completing it according to George's original vision. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of jealous. I'd love to be a part of that, but like I said, man, let me know how that goes and what you thought of it, because I'm definitely curious to see it. Larry says everyone should go meet Mike Ankus, Jeannie Jeffries, Michael Tommaso, and Mark Tierno wherever they appear. Yeah, I've seen them advertised for quite a few things here lately. They're selling a new documentary, Chasing Romero, a big part of it too. It's fun. That's true. I'm really interested in seeing it. It's like I was saying earlier, I'm really fascinated, and it's what the documentary is about. And I had a pretty long conversation with Mike Ankus about it last year's Evan City Living Dead weekend. We were talking about it, and I'm really fascinated with Romero fandom. I think that's kind of what this channel is mostly. Like, I'm not an expert. I'm not an insider. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan. I just love these movies. And I love talking to other fans and getting their perspective. And I love, like I was saying earlier with John, like the fact that we feel the need to dig deeper and find out more and preserve and keep these movies going and keeping it fresh. I just think it's fascinating. I think it's just a fascinating world, and that's what the documentary Chasing Romero is all about. So yeah, I'm definitely looking for. Hey, if you have any extra copies of that, Larry, that you feel like mailing over to me, shipping this way, don't hesitate. I'll gladly watch it, and I'll gladly do a review of it here on the channel and try to promote it a little bit, because I did see some bits and pieces of it. And I saw you in it, Larry, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because, like I said, it does kind of cover just Romero fandom, and I think that's a fascinating topic to me. So, Larry said I could sell the duck too, but I don't do enough vending anymore at cons. Not sure I'll sell. I'll buy one. Shit. How much you want for it? I'll just shoot me a copy. I'll definitely check it out, because that's one I've been wanting to check out since I talked to Mike about it last October, actually. God, it's been a year already. That's crazy. Some Michelucci selling it too. Okay. Larry said, I guess I have to sell you a copy. You should review it. Hey, let me know, man. Shoot me a message. How much you need for it? I'll definitely buy it, and I'll definitely do a review of it. Because, like I said, that's one I've been wanting to see for the last year. So I'm glad that it's finally finished and it's finally out. I know Mike was very passionate about it when I was talking to him about it. Just very passionate about, wanting it to be exactly right and kind of, not missing anything. Which he mentioned is always kind of the hard part about doing a documentary, because you always feel like there's more. Like, you can always get more, but at some point you gotta cut it down to a feature length, and which, I mean, shit, you don't gotta cut it down to a feature length, man. Just do I'll watch a 3-hour documentary on Romero and Romero fandom, but that's just me. But yeah. So I guess the last thing I really wanted to talk about, and we can just kind of go through this quickly here. I thought it'd be kind of fun, kind of interesting, kind of get you guys' thoughts on this list here that Variety Magazine just put together, a 100 best horror movies list. So it's Variety's 100 best horror movies of all time list. And it caught my attention because I saw that Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead were ranked in it. If you guys are aware, I'm not sure if you guys are aware where they were ranked, but we'll get to that in a second. And whether or not we think that that's fair or not. We'll give our thoughts. But overall, there were a couple that stood out, just kind of glancing at it here. Pull it up here. So here's the list, and right off the bat, Suspiria at 99. Again, I don't know who the hell compiled this list. It was a bunch of names of people I wasn't too familiar with, so who knows? But the fact that Suspiria is at 99 on this list, and The Human Centipede 2 is at 92 on this list, is already a red flag for me. The Human Centipede 2, like, it is what it is. Like, it's one movie you'll watch once and you'll say, well, that was gross, and you'll never go back to it again. So that right there already caught my attention. I was like, I don't know about this fucking list, but Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that's a good one. Some of these I don't even like. Event Horizon's an interesting one. That's one I haven't seen in probably a couple of decades, honestly. But it's one I've heard people talk about here recently that it kind of made me want to go back and rewatch it. A Page of Madness. I'm not 1926. Not too familiar with that one, honestly. Reanimator at 85. Dead Ringers at 84. I don't know if I buy that. I think Dead Ringers is a enjoyable enough movie. I don't think it's great. I've heard people just rave about it, and I love Cronenberg, but I didn't love it. It was a fine Cronenberg movie. 84, 100 best horror movies of all time. I don't see that. I don't think so. Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, I guess you can go with that one. I always felt that was more of a comedy more than anything. Of course, you got your classic Wolfman, which I guess they're making another remake of the Wolfman soon. Yippee. See the original House of Wax, The Omen at 79. I feel like that's a little low. I feel like The Omen might be a little higher on my list. Angst. I've never heard of Angst. 1983. Never heard of it. Nightmare on Elm Street 74. Again, I feel like that's a little low. The Descent is a modern horror film that I thought was really good when I saw it in the theater. It was really uncomfortable. If you're claustrophobic at all, it'll definitely fuck with you. Hostel Part 2, seriously, at 71. All right, come on. I never cared for those Hostel movies or that whole era of like the torture porn or whatever they called it. Wailing, I have no idea what that is. Near Dark is a very underrated vampire flick for sure. 69 maybe. Sixth Sense 68. The Babadook, that's one of those modern ones that everybody puts over that I didn't really love as much as I was hoping I would. Okay, Gremlins at 62. I wouldn't categorize this as what are you guys saying? I mean, I'm living currently in a world of Gizmo and Gremlins because my toddler is obsessed with it. She loves her some fucking Gizmo. Would you consider Gremlins a horror film? One of the 100 best horror movies of all time? Yeah. Top 100, Stukas, I guess. Saw The Fish? Is that one that what is The Fish? Not sure. But yeah, I don't know. Gremlins as a horror movie? I don't know. Yeah, Ed Trader saying Gremlins not a horror movie. I agree. Robert saying yes, it is, and the original was an R-rated movie. That's true. That is true. The original concept, the original version of Gremlins was originally supposed to be like an R-rated heavy horror movie. And if that was the version that we got, then I would agree. But I think the version that we got is more. I don't know. I don't see it as a horror film. Just me personally. Stu saying Gremlins was scary, but also fun when I was a kid. Yeah, there's definitely some horror elements to it, but I wouldn't say it's a horror film. First Hostel. Okay, you saw Fish. Okay, I thought you. Okay, gotcha. The first Hostel, that was enough. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Although I did watch Hostel 2 because that was kind of a big thing in high school. Everybody's like, "Oh, you like horror movies? You got to see Hostel 2, man." I watched it and I was just not impressed. So yeah, with you on that one, Bonnie. Incredible Shrinking Man. Never seen Planet Terror at 64. I love Grindhouse. I much prefer Death Proof over Planet Terror, but really it's 64. Candyman at 61. I buy that. I think Candyman's kind of underrated as a horror movie. I watched that again not too long ago. I love the score. Tony Todd's great in it. There's some pretty dark shit in that movie. Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. Funny Games is one that I've heard from people that either they love or they hate. Raw, that's one that I've heard from several people that I need to see. That's been on my list of to watch. I haven't gotten around to it yet. Peeping Tom, that's an interesting one from 1960. Completely ruined the career of the filmmaker. Was it Michael Powell was the director of Peeping Tom? Completely ruined his career because it was 1960, very ahead of its time. It's the same year that Psycho came out, and some people at the time were saying like Peeping Tom out psychoed Psycho, but it was so disturbing, the contents of the movie at the time, that it just, people thought it was just trash, and like I said, it just ruined Michael Powell's career. And of course, Michael Powell was, one half of Powell and Pressburger, who, you know, did the Tales of Hoffman, which is Romero's all-time favorite movie. So the movie that inspired Romero to make films. So I always thought that was interesting. I've always been fascinated with Peeping Tom. 57, I think that's a fair spot for it on this list. The Fly, the remake of The Fly, Cronenberg's The Fly at 56. I don't. I guess it's not supposed to be the scariest movies. It's just best horror movies, and that I definitely think that deserves to be on the top 100 list for sure. Larry Sandy saw Gremlins twice in the theater, summer 1984. That's pretty damn cool. I've seen Gremlins at this point, with Everly being obsessed with it, I've probably seen Gremlins about as much as I've seen Dawn of the Dead at this point. I know those movies like the back of my hand. I love Gremlins 2. I probably prefer Gremlins 2 over the original Gremlins, honestly, just because it's so fucking out there. Stuka saying Screamers from 1995 should be on here. Maybe it is. I don't know. But some of the other shit that's on here, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, not to say Screamers is shit or anything, but I mean, there's just some funky ass titles on here. Let the Right One In. I would agree with that one. I do love that movie. 54, maybe a little high. Blood and Black Lace, that's an interesting one. At 52. I'm love that movie. 52 though might be a little high. I would definitely be on the list. Above Suspiria though, I just like most of these movies. Again, Suspiria is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. All-time favorite movies, period. And the fact that you would have like Planet Terror ahead of Suspiria. I mean, most of these. Suspiria to me is top 25 at least. But I don't know. Again, I don't know who's putting these fucking things together, but Irreversible at 51. Is Irreversible a horror film? I mean, it's horrifying to fucking watch, that's for sure. It's not. It's a tough watch, but would you categorize that as a horror movie? Really? It's weird. Ed saying Funny Games and Raw are really good movies. Peeping Tom is so underrated. Okay. Yeah, Funny Games is one that I've heard some people say is great, and some people say is not good. So I don't know. That's one I've never seen. Larry says Peeping Tom is amazing. Romero loved it and loved director Michael Powell, and Romero even became friends with him and his wife, Thelma Schoonmaker, in the late 70s. That's cool. I didn't know that. I do know. I mean, I knew that Romero was very inspired by Powell and Pressburger, and I didn't know that they'd became friends. I was just thought that was so interesting that a movie that still to this day is as revered and praised as Peeping Tom, which I mean it is now, but at the time was just panned universally and just completely ruined Powell's career. So I just always found that fascinating. Onibaba, that's a good one at 50. I think that's fair. That's probably one of the better. So like 1964, yeah, I mean, that's like Japanese horror, like one of the original Japanese horror films is Onibaba. It's a weird horror film. It's not I don't know. It's not about monsters or anything really. It's just more about the atmosphere and just it's something about it's just off. The Witch. That's a good modern horror film. I think deserves to be on this list because that is definitely an unsettling movie for sure. Birds at 48. The original Godzilla from 1954. I think that deserves to be on here. Now this one, come on, The Thing at 46. The Thing. I mean, The Thing is in terms of 100 best horror movies of all time. The Thing's got to be in the top 20, top 15, right? 46. I shudder to think what the hell's ahead of it. Invisible Man, Manhunter, okay. Horror movie though, I don't know. Original Vampire from 1932 or Vampire. I'm just gonna say Vampire. 28 Days Later. I definitely, you guys know how much I love 20 Days Later, but I wouldn't put it 42 in terms of best horror. Well, maybe. I mean, it was pretty innovative and ahead of its time. Definitely made a major impact on the horror genre as a whole, for sure. Bride of Frankenstein 40. Never heard of this. I don't know what that is. Freaks. That's one that I'm a huge fan of. I've seen Freaks so many times because it's mesmerizing to see that they use these actual circus freaks in this movie. And it's 1932, but it still holds up in some weird way. I don't know how to explain it. There's Argento again with Deep Red. Now, would you put Deep Red that far ahead of Suspiria? I wouldn't. I would actually put Tenebrae ahead of Deep Red, but I mean that's the thing with Argento. It's really you can mix and match however you want. They're all classics in their own right. Hereditary, I think that definitely deserves. Now, if Hereditary is on here, I wonder if Midsommar would be a little farther because that's one movie that still, like when I watch it, it's borderline. It's a borderline like it gives me anxiety when I watch it. I guess I don't know, and that's what I love about Ari Aster is that his movies are basically built on the back of anxiety. I guess is a way to describe it. So I guess that's the original Body Snatchers. See, I would actually put the remake ahead of the original. Actually, to me personally, Evil Dead 2 at 34. Okay, M from 1931 to 33. That's Fritz Lang. That's one that's always been on my to watch list. Here's another one that I need to watch. I've never seen Night of the Hunter either. I hear nothing but praise for that movie. Original Phantom of the Opera, Wicker Man at 28. Okay, dig that. The Innocents is one that the Dead Pit Boys just recently reviewed, saw for the first time a few months back, and really put it over, and really kind of made me want to seek it out. I think Criterion did a release of it. Actually, might be worth picking up. Original Dracula. So now we're getting into the top 25. I don't know about this list so far. What are you guys thinking? Larry really hates Eraserhead. I've never seen Eraserhead. It's never been one that I've really thought to seek out, but Larry's saying the list is terrible. I'm kind of with you on it right now. I'm not I agree with you too, Stu, because they should really separate the eras for a list like this. It really is hard to compare something from 1930 to something from 2020. You know, it's just it's completely different. I mean, I guess you got to take into consideration, got to take into account you know, what they meant at the time and how audiences reacted to them at the time. But yeah, it is really hard to kind of compare some of these movies. They're just so different. It's hard to put these lists together. I think I don't know. It is a pretty shitty list, I gotta say. Yeah, at this rate, Gumbo should be in the top 20. It might be. I mean, I would not be fucking shocked. John says these kinds of lists are almost always rotten. I agree. They're most likely shoddily thrown together to create controversy and have people click it for engagement. That's true. That is a very good point. A lot of these lists are definitely, I mean, it has to be. A lot of like what did Shudder do? was it like the top 101 top scariest movie moments or something last Halloween, and some of the the placing of those was just like obvious. Like it would be one movie that covers one type of subject, and then the next movie would be kind of in the same vein. I don't know, but yeah, it's all for clickbait. It's literally something for people to bullshit about on social media for the most part. And like I said, the people that put these together are who knows. They could be 20-year-old kids that know nothing. Not to say that 20-year-old kids know nothing, but I mean, for the most part, when I was 20, I didn't know shit about anything either. So I wouldn't be putting together these lists. Okay, Bonnie's saying I really love. Is it Quiden? Is that how it's pronounced? I've never heard of that, but that's interesting. What year did that come out? Quiden 64. Okay, so that would have been the same year as Onibaba. 64. Okay. It looks Japanese. That's why I'm associating it with Onibaba. That's what I'm saying. But very cool. I'm guessing you're saying Night of the Hunter is fantastic. Yeah, that's one I gotta see that. Ed Traderson, not too optimistic about the top 25. Me either. Hunter, I'm not having. It's fine. I do the same shit. Like when I'm in the chats on different streams and stuff, it can turn into a mess pretty damn fast. Well, let's see. What's the top 25 here? Uh-oh. Look at that at 23. Dawn of the Dead at 23. And I think that's, in terms of best horror movies of all time, I can't complain. It's top 25. To me, it's number one, obviously. But I do think it should be maybe a little higher. Scream at 25, I'm cool with. Blair Witch Project at 24, I'm cool with. I definitely think Dawn should be ahead of Carnival of Souls. I think it should be ahead of Black Sunday. Black Sunday is a good film, but it's not Dawn of the Dead. Get the fuck out. Literally, get out at 20. Seriously. Ahead of Dawn. Come on. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like Jordan Peele and like his movies and like Get Out quite a bit. I mean, Tarantino put it over big time. Hell, even Galen Ross during the Q&A panel at Days of the Dead in Atlanta a couple weeks ago, she even put it over. She was like, "Oh, if there was a movie that I think George would have really loved, it would have been Get Out." And he probably would have. He might have been a big fan of that movie, but I just didn't get it. Like, I mean, I got it. I got what they were going for, and it was just kind of a little, I don't know, a little too on the nose for me. And the ending I thought was just terrible. The beginning of it I thought was cool. I thought they were building up something interesting, and then it took a weird turn. But anyway, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. Mummy, maybe that's a little high. The Shining at 18, I think there's an argument to be made that could be number one. Halloween at 16, I think there's an argument can be made that should be number one. Definitely top 10, The Shining and Halloween. Diabolique, that's one that a lot of people put over as being. I remember William Friedkin, when introducing Texas Chainsaw Massacre at a screening once, he was like, there's the two scariest movies he's ever seen and are Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Diabolique. And so I've never seen it. That's definitely one that I would love to see one day. But so I could buy that at 17. So really, outside of Get Out, the top 25 at this point is pretty solid, I would say. Mummy might be a little too high. Carnival of Souls might be a little too high. Black Sunday, out of all the Bava films, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Don't Look Now at 15. That's interesting. A lot of people put that movie over. I never got it. I was never a huge fan of Don't Look Now, to be honest with you. It's fine. It's good. It's an interesting movie for sure. But in terms of the love that it gets, I never understood. The original Nosferatu. I mean, I'm a huge Nosferatu fan. I just love any of those movies. Just the look. It's my. I just love it. So I'm good with it being at 14. I don't even know. I think that's fair. Silence of the Lambs at 13. Yeah, I guess you got to put that on the list. It's one of the only horror films to ever win the Academy Award for Best Picture. So, original King Kong. Alien's one of those that I'm like top 50. It's great, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely my favorite of the Alien movies. But I don't know. John says, maybe I'm weird, but I don't even think of Dawn as a horror movie. I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't think of it as a strictly horror film. I think of it more, and George has always talked about it. He thought of it more as a comic book, an action adventure / horror type. I mean, that's the thing about Dawn of the Dead. I can't think of too many movies before Dawn of the Dead that were like Dawn of the Dead, that incorporated all that perfectly, blended into a film. The humor, the level of violence, the gore, it's really ahead of its time. So yeah, I don't really think of it as just strictly a horror film either. I really don't. Like Night of the Living Dead is for sure a horror movie. Day of the Dead, yeah, horror movie, but there's other things going on there. But Dawn is just, yeah, like it's just kind of like I don't even know what I don't know what I would categorize it at. Robert saying children shouldn't play with dead things. According to IMDb, it's PG. That movie is intense. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I love Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember having the VHS that Anchor Bay did back in the day. And that's the first time I saw it was checking out that VHS. But yeah, I'm a big Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things fan. Big Bob Clark fan. Period. Black Christmas, Christmas Story, Death Dream, Porky's. I mean, talk about a director with a wide range. Jordan Peele is overrated. He's shit. Yeah. Well, if you don't like Jordan Peele's movies, then you are a racist, according to Jordan Peele. So, okay. Ed Trader says Kong is a monster movie, not a horror film. There is a difference, in my opinion. Okay, that's interesting. Do you guys categorize monster movies and horror films as different genres? Because Godzilla was on the list too. I'm kind of with you there. I've always kind of separated the two in terms of like the big monster movies like Godzilla, King Kong, stuff like that. In comparison to just like another horror film from that time period, like The Haunting or something. Yeah, what do you guys think? Yeah, that's a good way to categorize Dawn of the Dead, Robert. It's the perfect movie. It's not a horror movie. It's a perfect movie. I like that. John says my uncle's aunt was in Children. Oh, really? I only learned about that a few years ago. That's interesting. What did she play? Robert saying that's why he's shit. Yeah, yeah. I don't agree with that, but it's his opinion. It's however he feels about it, I guess. But the top 10 here, what do we got? Top 10 at number 10 on the list of Variety's top 100 best horror movies of all time is Carrie. Oh, you fucking kidding me. Number 9 is Salo. Really? Salo at this point is at number 9. We've gotten to a point in our society where we recognize Salo as the 9th best horror movie of all time. Okay. That's interesting. There's Night of the Living Dead at number 6. I think that's about right for Night of the Living Dead in terms of, like I said earlier, I think it's probably the most famous horror movie of all time. It's easily top 10. 6, I think is a fair spot for it. Audition, that's one that I feel is just, I like Audition a lot. It's I'm not a huge fan of Japanese horror, but it's definitely one of those that I would consider probably one of my favorite of the Japanese horror, especially from that time period, the early 2000s. But number 7, I feel like it's a little overhyped at this point, and I feel like it has been since it came out. Do I think it deserves to be on the list? Sure, but number 7, ahead of The Shining and ahead of Halloween and Dawn. No, no, I don't think so. So okay, if Night of the Living Dead is number 6 on the list, what are the 5 that Variety has chosen to be ahead of it? Rosemary's Baby, Also came out in 68. I forget that. Okay, so Rosemary's Baby at number 5. Jaws at number 4. Psycho at number 3. The Exorcist at number 2. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre at number 1. I think that's a fairly solid top 5. I might swap Rosemary's Baby out for The Shining, maybe? Or Halloween. Okay, so what was missing on this list? Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th is not on this list. Maniac, not on this list. What else is Creepshow? Not well, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I would consider Creepshow one of the best horror movies of all time. Sure, it's definitely the best horror anthology ever made. What did they miss, guys? I can't. They really didn't put Friday the 13th on there. The original. That's, huh? John says Valerie Manches. Never met her, but I have a video of me dancing with her husband at Michael's wedding as a kid. That's funny. Uncle Bill, what's up, man? What, you don't like poop eating political satires? Not typically, no. Sometimes, but not enough to put it on the list at number 9. That's for fucking damn sure. But okay. Stuga says I can accept Jaws. I'll say this: I'm not the biggest Jaws fan. I do appreciate. I think it's a great movie for sure, but I never understood it or appreciated it as much as I did when I took my fiance to the theater to see it in a theater when it was playing in a theater, and she had never seen it before, and she's still to this day said that it's the scariest movie she's ever seen. A grown adult woman. You've never seen her jump as high out of her chair as she did that night. After that moment, I was like, okay, I get why Jaws works. I get it. Ed Trader says Jaws to me is a human adventure versus nature, not a horror movie. Yeah, I can buy that. Definitely a horror element. It's definitely scary. But it's definitely not your typical horror film, I guess. Robert says Jaws is a great movie, but except for the end scene where the dude gets eaten alive, it's not scary. The scene screwed me up when I was a kid, though. Yeah, that was always the thing with the shark. Which I guess worked out for the best for Spielberg. The shark that they had didn't work, so they kind of had to just shoot around it and kind of make it look a little more threatening than it actually did. But John says, I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre at number 1. I'm okay as a horror movie. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is horrifying. Great set designs, premise, mask, sound design, etc. But Dawn is just like you said, has everything, and I think a better all movie. I agree. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is without a doubt one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It's one of the most inspirational horror movies that I remember seeing as a kid. Still love it to this day. That's one of those films I would love to visit the locations of. I love it. I do think it is. I have said it before. Like Dawn to me is my favorite movie. I think Dawn of the Dead is a perfect movie, and to me, the best movie ever made. To me. But if you were to ask me what, and I've said this before, I think I've said this on the channel. If you ask me what the best horror movie ever made was, it'd be, in my opinion, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because there was nothing. There's never been anything else like it, and so many have tried to replicate it, and just for some reason nobody ever has. They've never just got, like, I don't even know how to explain it. They never grasped what Toby Hooper, Kim Hinkle, what they were able to capture in that movie. Just the feel of it, the vibe. It's just something about it. I don't think it's ever been duplicated in horror. I don't think it's ever been as effective as it was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So in that aspect, I do agree with this list. I do think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the best horror movie ever made. So yeah, I agree. Exorcist is definitely up there. Psycho for sure. For sure. So I think the top 5's fine. I think I'm pretty okay with it. Rosemary's Baby, I could probably do without, but I'm fine with it. Ed Trader would have The Prowler above a lot of these. That's one. Yeah, not a lot of love for the slashers in this list at all. What was one I thought of a second ago that I was surprised is not on this list? A lot of the Fulci stuff. I mean, no Zombie, no City of the Living Dead. Yeah, very big lack of Fulci on this list for sure. Not a fan of that. Fuck, I was thinking of one earlier that was seemed like a pretty obvious choice that's not on this list, but now I can't even think of what the hell it was. I don't know, man. Some of the shit that made it on this list. Last House on the Left, not on this list. Of disturbing fight. Like, I'm sorry if you're gonna put Irreversible on this list. If you're gonna put Salo on this list, like Last House on the Left deserves to be on this list. Last House on the Left is still one of the most disturbing movies you'll ever see. Again, another horror movie. There's really nothing else out there like it. So yeah, the Last House not on this list. No Scanners, no Videodrome. I'm trying to think of all the big directors. Yeah, I don't know about it. I think the list as a whole is shit, but I'm cool with the top 5, I guess. Stuka said, "What the fuck is Audition?" It's a Japanese horror film about a guy who loses his wife and gets back in the dating scene and hooks up with this young girl. And I don't want to swear, it's a fucking trip of a movie for sure. But I'd recommend checking it out. It's pretty fucked up. I'll say that. But number 7, I don't know. Uncle Bill says the weird thing about Salo being on that list is that it's not a good film. Like it's just a series of perversions and torture scenes strung together. An odd choice for variety, for sure. Yeah. Again, I think it was like what I forget who fucking said it a minute ago, but I think they do these lists to just kind of drum up controversy and drum up conversation, I think, for the most part. And I think putting Salo in the top 10 of this list, they knew definitely would fucking do that. But it's weird. Yeah, it's Salo, like it's even got a Criterion release, for God's sakes. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. Nightmare on Elm Street is missing. No, Nightmare on Elm Street. It was really low, way lower than it should be. 74. Nightmare on Elm Street. But Friday the 13th, not on the list. The other big one. Uncle Bill says Texas Chainsaw, couldn't disagree with it. One, yeah, I'm totally cool with it. Like I said, I've always said it is the standard bearer for horror movies, in my opinion. Yeah, Elm Street was there in the 40s. Robert says, I eat up everything Texas Chainsaw. I even like the new one. Just give me more. Just give me more. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fans of the new one. I don't hate the remake. But it's not, again, it's not the original. It doesn't capture the essence of the original. I'm actually one of the only weird ass motherfuckers in the world that actually really likes The Next Generation. I think that is a really good direct sequel to the original. Is it perfect? No, but I mean, I don't know. I like it. What can I say? But yeah, part 2 is great. I even like Leatherface, the part 3. I think that's one that I grew up kind of watching. Came out in 1990, so that would have been right around the time that I remember. I think that was the first Leatherface movie that I ever saw. Ed Trader says bonus points to who can connect Texas Chainsaw to the television show Night Court. And right out of the gate, Bonnie got it. John Larroquette. Of course, the guy does the voiceover at the beginning of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Uncle Bill knows. John Larroquette being the narrator. Heard he got paid in weed. That makes sense. If Kim Hinkle was involved, I'm sure that there was probably a little bit of something going on there. Yeah, that's a big one, Larry. Return of the Living Dead. That's a big one that's missing. Holy shit. How did I forget that one? But I mean, where would you fit Return of the Living Dead on this list? You still have to make room for, stuff like Planet Terror. Planet Terror is a classic. Everybody knows Planet Terror, right? Or what was it? What was the other one on here that was just like, what the fuck? Salo. I mean, you gotta have room for Salo as well. Human Centipede 2. Come on. John, here, I'll go full screen here. I think we've all seen all this shit. John says, although Texas Chainsaw Massacre is amazing, that each sequel gets more and more awful, embarrassingly awful. I like 2 and 3, but the rest, oh my god, the newest one was John Russo level. I'd never watched the newest one, the one that was like straight to Netflix or whatever, where it was like Sally with a shotgun or something. I avoided that one. Didn't watch that one. But yeah, as they've gone on, I've been less and less of a fan of them. But like I said, Next Generation is a guilty pleasure of mine, I'll admit. There's another good one there. Hellraiser, not on the list. Hellraiser, not on the fucking list. Seriously. Uncle Bill, you can't like Last House now. Yeah, you can't like Last House now if you're a good person. Well, see, Last House is a good movie. I don't like to watch it. It breaks my heart every time I watch it. I feel dirty when I watch it. After I get done watching it, I go and repent. But you gotta admit, it's a good movie. But I am a good person, so I have to let you guys know that I don't like it, but it is good. Yeah, that's crazy that we're at that point now. It's just I don't get it. The Fly, yeah, that was on there. The remake, I don't think the original Fly with Vincent Price was on there, was it? But the Cronenberg Fly was definitely on there. I remember seeing that one. I think it was 56 on the list. Robert said, I've never seen Last House on the Left, but I hate rape movies. So then you don't. Then if you hate rape movies, don't watch Last House on the Left. I'll say that. It's the Citizen Kane of rape movies, pretty much. But it's again, it's like Texas Chainsaw in that way. It's like it's really rough around the edges. It's really difficult. I mean, I joke about it. It is kind of difficult to watch at times. There are certain scenes in that movie that are just really uncomfortable to watch. But there's something about it. I've always tried to pinpoint what it is, but there's something about it just feels like dirty. Like it just feels, I don't know, there's something about it that just works on different. I think also a part of it, there's like the comedic scenes in between with the goofy music with the sheriffs and shit, like, and it like breaks up these horrible scenes of just uncomfortable torture and all that. Like, but something about that makes the heavier stuff even harder to watch for some reason. Like you're going back and forth. Like there's scenes in the movie. I don't want to go on forever about Last House on the Left, but because I'm a good person, I don't want to do that. But there's scenes in the movie where it's like it's cutting back and forth between, they're raping these girls and making them piss their pants and all this stuff and degrading them and all this stuff, and then it cuts back to like the parents baking the cake and decorating for the birthday party, and it's just like and it's just like, what is this? Like, what is the editing on this? Like, none of this makes any sense. Like the way that this is put together, but it works. Like it makes it more disturbing somehow. I don't know. Bonnie says, I recently discovered the Terrifier movies and I love them. Okay. I've still yet to see 3. I might be going to see 3 this Thursday with a buddy. Just to say I did, and it's super cool to me that a low budget indie film like Terrifier 3 is the #1 movie at the box office and kick the shit out of, all the other big money Hollywood stuff. So again, go support your independent horror out there. Ed Trader Christine, Child's Play, The Burning, Return of the Living Dead are missing. Child's Play, that's a good one. I've been brainwashed into loving Child's Play, but I mean I really do think that the first Child's Play is a really well made, well acted, pretty smart movie. Yeah, it gets sillier as they go, and I'm a big fan of Bride of Chucky. I think Bride of Chucky's probably my favorite of the Chucky movies. But Child's Play as a movie in itself, I think is a really, really well made, really good movie. And Christine, I love Christine. I think that's another really good one on there. Yeah, 74. Nightmare on Elm Street, 74, y'all. Bunny says Last House still disturbs me. Can't watch it. Yeah, it's one that I don't really like to watch that often. It's one that when I first saw it, I got kind of obsessed with it because I was obsessed with like how did they like how does this work so well? Like again, like I was talking about, I was trying to figure out like how does this work so well? Like why is this so effective to me? So I like watched all the documentaries, listened to all the commentaries and all that, and I don't think anybody knows why it works so well. I don't even think Wes knew why it worked so well. I don't think it's a movie Wes is particularly that proud of or really, like to talk about too much. I mean, Wes has been gone for quite a while, but yeah, I don't know. It's one of those moments in time, and the marketing campaign for it too. It's only a movie, only a movie, only a movie. Pretty brilliant stuff. Although I do prefer the original title, "Sex Crime of the Century." I think that's the perfect title for that movie. But I mean, it sounds kind of goofy. But Last House on the title makes no sense. It to the point where the movie is so out there that the title of the movie makes no fucking sense. Last House on the Left. What does that mean? It's not about. It sounds like a ghost movie about a haunted house or something like that, but it's not that at all. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one, but it's not. It's not one of the top 100 best horror movies ever made. So, oh, and speaking of Cannibal Holocaust, where the fuck is that? One of the most disturbing movies ever made. One that's really hard to watch to this day for me. I guess we could talk about disturbing movies that didn't make the list. What about uh, I Spit on Your Grave? Not in the top 100. Not a great movie, but I mean, in terms of best horror movies ever made, I mean, it's notorious for being, another one of those movies that's really fucking hard to watch. Stu said we should have a poll of our collective 100 horror movies. Yeah, that'd be a pretty big project to tackle. I'd be down to do something like that, but yeah, I don't know how we'd really narrow that down and maybe if I sent out an email or something with like a list your favorite horror movies or whatnot. I don't know. I remember saying nothing can capture the original. Just enjoy the sequels. Stop comparing, brother. Yeah. Night of the Creeps. That's one that I think deserves to be on a list of 100 best horror movies ever made. Yeah, definitely put Return above the damn 50s Blob. Agree. Yeah, that's a Bava. Black Sabbath is one that I would put on the list, as well as Bay of Blood. I think Bay of Blood is one of the most influential horror movies ever made. To the point where like Friday the 13th like rips it off basically shot for shot in parts. Two more good. The Hitcher being top 100. Fright Night, I definitely agree. Fright Night is an amazing horror film. Although, yeah, you don't got to say that, Larry. We get it. Night of the Creeps is a perfect movie, says Robert. It's an interesting choice. Larry would have Shaun of the Dead in his top horror films, even though it's more of a comedy. Shaun of the Dead is kind of like we were saying with Dawn earlier. Like Dawn, it's like a perfect combination of comedy, horror, action. Like it's a romantic comedy. Shaun of the Dead is like everything rolled into one. I think that's what it's the perfect like tribute to George and tribute to Dawn of the Dead because it emulates Dawn in that way. But shit, yeah, I'd have it on this list ahead of some of this shit. I mean, the fact that Dead Ringers is on the list, but no Videodrome, no Shivers, no Scanners. Like Videodrome for sure needs to be on this list. For sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, look, if you're not a fan of that type of stuff, like you're probably not gonna like it. But I definitely think if you're a horror fan, I mean, it's one of those quintessential horror films that you need to watch. Just to say you watched it, because it's one of those movies that inspired so much after it. Um, it's definitely worth a check out. Uh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre's film like a cheap porn film. I always thought that's what made it unsettling. I agree, Ed. I also think that about Last House too. I think I may have said that in a comment on the Dead Pit channel or something like that. That Last House it does seem like a bad porno, but there's something about that makes it even more disturbing. Um, Black Christmas. Oh yeah, seriously, top 30 easily. How did we miss fucking Black Christmas? It's terrible. This list is awful. The more I think about it, and the more we keep naming off these movies that are missing, it's yeah, you start to see how shitty this list really is. Good question, Uncle Bill. Why the fuck is Hostel 2 on that list? Who made that list? I don't know. List credit R2DRE2. Who the fuck is that? I don't know what the hell that means. That's what it says here on Letterboxd. Okay, so this is Letterboxd. So this is just a person on Letterboxd. I don't know the actual. Oh, let me see if I can find the actual article. Okay, so here are the names of the people that put this list together. It's a who's who of the horror community. Sidhant Adalaka, Peter De Bruges, William Earl, Owen Gleiberman, Courtney Howard, Tomris Lafley, Amy Nicholson, and Renee Rodriguez. And yes, folks, some of those are real names. So yeah, I don't have a fucking clue who any of those people are, which may tell us a little bit about why this list is the way that it is. But hey, what can you do? Like I said, it's all horseshit. Larry, yeah, Last House would be in your top 30. It'd be in mine too. Again, it's not for everybody, but it definitely is one of my favorite horror films of all time, for sure. All right, let me click out of that. Robert doesn't like Shivers. Stupid movie. I love Shivers. I think it's to me it's early Cronenberg, but it has a, I don't know, it kind of feels like a Dawn of the Dead, or not a Dawn of the Dead, but it's kind of Cronenberg's zombie movie to me in a weird way. Instead of like where they're flesh eaters, they're sex crazed maniacs, which is perfect Cronenberg style of zombie. There you go. A who's who of who's that, for sure. Uncle Bill, yeah, those other people I go for I think we all do, especially Sad Fat Pickle Ninny or whatever the fuck his name is. As Jim Cornette says, who are these people? Yeah. Who are these fucking people? Took my quote from Cornette. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting list, but hey, it's variety. What the hell? No love for Cabin Fever. No. Eli Roth did get on the fucking list though, Hostel 2. So I don't know if that tells you anything about anything, but that's what it is. But guys, I've been going for almost 3 hours tonight. I didn't expect to do. I thought maybe I'd do 2 because I'm all by myself, and usually I can do 3, sometimes 4 if I got other people on here because it's just a hang sesh. But when it's just me talking for 3 hours straight, I'm pretty beat. But it's been fun. I appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat. Like I said, next weekend I'll be celebrating birthday number 36. Sunday, October 27th, I will have the man himself. You guys see him in the chat. John Vulo in on the stream with me. We're going to chat, talk Romero, Night of Living Dead, anything and everything. We're just going to chat. We're going to get to know John, because I think he's I think he's an interesting fella, and he's got a lot to say. So I'm excited about that. And like I said, Halloween night, October 31st, I'm going to have a Halloween freak off party, baby, P Diddy style. Not really, but we're going to be watching the Day of the Dead, full frame, unmatted. Is that what it's called? It's late. I'm tired. Yeah, the full frame, unmatted version of Day of the Dead. We're going to do a live watch along of that on Halloween night, October 31st. Be there for that. Check out shop.alpharomero.store. Just dropped a new Day of the Dead Halloween themed shirt, if you will. I thought it was kind of quirky, kind of cool. So I threw it on a t-shirt, and what better way to show off your Halloween spirit? I'll say that. Check it out, shop.alpharomero.store. Appreciate it. And then what else? Anything else I need to plug before I hop off here? I think that's about it. I think I'm about tapped. So with that being said, like the video. I haven't said that. It's been 3 hours. Whatever. If you've been watching this long, you know. But if you're watching later on, I know some of you guys over in the UK catch the replay. Can't, because I think it's like 3 a.m. or something now over in the UK. But if you're watching this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell, leave a comment down below. I love interacting with everybody, getting you guys' thoughts on all the bullshit that's popping out of my head for the last 3 hours. So leave a comment, all that fun stuff. Really, really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys as always. Have a good rest of the night, a great rest of the week. And as always, stay scared.